that's the one God made, and that's the truth. But man, keep on trying to hold me back while another chicken head come home to lose. Too strong, try to do me wrong, and the last one standing will order and command you to dance. Dance.
Run to your preacher and your teacher, I'ma give you what you love. I got to give you what you love. It's time to give you what you love. Give you what you love. Give you some love. Yeah, baby. I said I take your time, take what you love, baby, just enough, but never too much, baby. Take your time, take what you love, and when that baby cry, you feel that look with that, baby. Take your time, take what you love, baby, just enough, but never too much, baby. Take your time, and when it give me some love, won't you give me what you
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Monday to each and every one of you. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is a number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am your host, Diva, Mother, Andrea Lawful Sanders, on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 1 to 4 p.m. Listen, there is so much to discuss with you guys this week. We are going to be talking all things election. Mother is going to share some things that she noticed while she was out in these streets over the weekend. But first, I got to say, Mike, I'm so happy to see you. Mike and I, we have this rapport when I'm in the studio. He'll give me a look, I'll give him a look, and he starts to crack up. When I am operating from my home base, it's more difficult. He'll send me the laughy emojis because he can almost see my face. My facial expressions can be quite legendary in these Wakandan streets, you know. And so Mike doesn't have to say much before I start cracking up in here. So anyway, I hope you all had a good weekend. We are now how many days away from the elections? Eight or nine? Eight. Because Tuesday will be a week away. So we're 8 days away from the elections. And if you live right here in Philadelphia proper, you will notice that so much has been happening in the streets. So because of the WURD listeners, I began doing some digging last weekend into last night. In fact, stayed up until about almost midnight, which is late for me because Mother likes to sleep, you know, because she's on the trails, usually at 6 o'clock in the morning. By the way, Idris says, I am home watching you as a result of a bike accident I had last weekend riding on the bike trail. Slipped on some leaves and crashed and have 4 broken ribs and a bruised lung. And so aside from the fact, Idris, that I really want to wish you good health and that you get better soon, you said something that a lot of people are not paying attention to. Those leaves, they're falling at an alarming rate out there, and if you have to slip or slide or do a quick stop, those leaves will send you into the stratosphere. They're like ice. They actually are, Michael. They're very much like ice. And so when it's raining and foggy and crazy outside, I want you to pay more attention to what you're doing. We that are enthusiast bike riders are going to have to find another way to ride our bicycles. I was not someone who was interested in the Peloton. I found it a little bit trite, and it was too much for me. Plus, if you're going to spend $4,000 on a Peloton, people, you might as well put it into a bicycle that takes you where you need to go and that actually does something other than having you sitting there that you have to pay for a service to tell you you're doing a great job. But that's just mother. You do you. That's just mother. And so, you know, riding, doing what we're doing. So on Saturday, I did a 35-mile ride. With my friends, I did, Mike, I did. Mama did a 35-mile ride. Since I'm talking about Idris and, you know, what happens with the leaves. And when I got back home and was unloading my bike from the bike rack, a group of Proud Boys rode by on their motorcycles. I looked at my husband, I looked at them, I looked at my husband, and we were like, well, 10 days away from the election, so this is what we have here. So pay attention to what's happening around you in the city right now and moving forward until we get to election day. But in doing some research, I'm going to have a long discussion with you all about the Electoral College. Who are they and why do they have so much power? That was some interesting research on my end. I called on a couple of people, asked them to give me some tips on it because I didn't know, and many of the people that I spoke to had no idea what the Electoral College was about. But Philadelphia, heads up, y'all. You all are kicking it out in these streets. Billy Penn wrote, Philadelphia has the highest number of registered voters in 35 years. More than 90% of eligible residents have signed up to cast a ballot. Shout out for the Philadelphia voters. For everybody that kept saying you all were not coming out and you all weren't doing what you were supposed to be doing, tell them they can go kick rocks now, right? You literally have all registered to vote. So this was written by Dana Henninger yesterday at 12:15. She said, next time you're in the supermarket, at a park, or anywhere in Philly with other adults, look around. On average, 9 out of 10 of your socially distanced city mates are registered to vote. That's a record high for Philadelphia voter registration over the past 3 decades. So as much as you all fuss about what's going on in the country, it was enough to wake up the apathetic in some of you who were just like, well, it's another election and my vote doesn't matter. Newsflash, when I have a conversation with you about the Electoral College and why it's happening the way it is, you will understand that your votes do matter on some level and that the local elections absolutely matter for you. So while you may not have as much say in the presidential elections beyond your popular vote, you want to make sure that your mayor, your city council, city commissioner, all those people, you want to look those people over well, your state senator, your congressperson, your state reps, all of those people make a difference for you, right? She says, as of October 19th, the deadline for the November general election, more than 1,120,000 Philadelphians had signed up to cast a ballot, according to the statistics from the Pennsylvania Department of State. I would like to think that right here at WURD Radio, we had something to do about it, because Lord knows we talked about it over and over and over again. Right here on The Source, it was not my interest to tell anybody who to vote for. It was not my interest to tell you cast aspersions against any one person, but to just tell you, register and exercise your right to vote. In total volume, that's higher than any year since 1984, per data kept by the PhiladelphiaVotes.com resources. Currently, nearly 1.6 million people live within the city limits, Pew reports, with that number expected to creep up slightly this year. About 22% are under 18. Hear what I'm telling you. That under 18 group, they're coming. They're coming. Recent U.S. Census data, which removes them from the voter equation. On the other side, some of the registered voters in the city are in the military or living abroad. Reports show there's an average of about 20,000 votes cast this way in recent elections. Taken together, that calculates out to more than 90% of all eligible residents being registered to vote right now. I want you all to pay attention to that and understand what that means. And so I sat down early this morning, could not sleep after doing all my research on the Electoral College, and I wrote a piece that you will see this weekend in the Philadelphia Sunday Sun. This is what I wrote in the simplest terms that I could figure out so that everybody could understand why the Electoral College, who are they and why they have so much power. With the election quickly approaching and so many people wondering if their votes will matter, I decided to try and explain the Electoral College in as simple terms as possible. The Electoral College is made up of 435 congressional votes, 100 senatorial votes, and 3 for the District of Columbia. The Electoral College number changes every 10 years because we gain or lose more electoral votes based on the census, based on how many people completed, which is why the census is so important on so many levels. The citizens of the United States vote in November for who they think should be president, but it is the people who comprise the Electoral College that meets in mid-December and decide who the president will be. Most of those votes then decide the presidency, which is 270 of the 538. Each state gets 3 electoral votes to start with, and the more populous the states, the more votes they get. California, for example, has 55 electoral college votes. The people, or the popular vote, should be a signal to the Electoral College how they should vote, but they do not always follow the will of the people, especially if it's a small margin sits between both candidates in their state. It is why Hillary Clinton won the 2016 election with the popular vote by over 3 million, but lost the election as electors in some states simply refused to cast their votes in her favor. The state of Florida has 29 electoral college votes, and it is considered a swing state because they give all their votes to the person that wins the popular vote, even by a slim margin. What happens then to the 11 million Americans who do not live in the United States? 600,000 are in the District of Columbia, which was determined to not be a state so that the capital of the country could be free of politics. In 1964, they won the right in District of Columbia to earn 3 electoral votes through an amended constitution, which gave them the same amount of votes as the least populous state, Wyoming, who also has 3 votes. The territories like Guam, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico gets no electoral college votes because they are not ratified as states and are not recognized, even as they are a part of the United States and the occupants are citizens of the United States. 4.4 million citizens live in these territories, which is more than Vermont, North Dakota, South Dakota, Alaska, and Delaware combined. Then there are the 6.3 million Americans who live abroad. If you are a citizen who moved to a foreign country, you can send a mail-in ballot to the last state you lived in. But if you moved within the United States to one of its territories like Puerto Rico, you lose your right to vote for president if you live there, for as long as you live there. Go figure. American astronauts, though, can vote from space. I can't make this stuff up. Citizens are voting on Election Day for a group of electors appointed by the political parties who are then charged to choose the president and vice president on the citizens' behalf. While the electors promise, quote unquote, to vote as their citizens want in their states, they aren't required to do so. Electors are free to vote the way they want. 87 times electors have voted against the way their people wanted them to, and here is the kicker. These 538 people are essentially unknown to the citizens of the United States. All of what I described above was designed in 1787 by men who fought to ratify the Constitution fairly in Philadelphia at their convention because information moved slowly back then and the country was so big. The idea was to send these folks chosen by each party to Washington to decide, and it helped the states with less people and votes to have a voice too. Information now moves at the speed of light, but things continue this way despite many challenges of it over the years. So again, people vote for the electors who then vote for president in early December. A handful of states will determine the winner, like Pennsylvania and Michigan. George Bush won the college election by 5 electoral votes, even as Al Gore won the popular vote. The Electoral College has been around for over 200 years with the hope that the smaller states would not be ignored by candidates running for office. 48 states have a winner-takes-all system, while 2 states do not. Those 2 states can split their electoral college votes between candidates. Maine and Nebraska are those 2. Electors are chosen in one of 2 ways. Now pay attention. Nominees are chosen before the elections by political parties as a reward for their support, and some electors are chosen by the voters themselves during the general elections, which is why reading everything on your ballot carefully is imperative. Electors can only cast their vote once, but can vote twice for president and vice president on that one vote that they cast. They cannot vote for president and vice president if both candidates are from their home state. The Electoral College has been credited for a peaceful transference of power for more than 200 years, which has led to an extremely stable government. I hope that you all are listening to this and paying attention, and you go back and you listen again. Opponents of the Electoral College says the system is unfair because it has elected second-place candidates, and 3 of the 4 states are left to be spectators in a presidential election despite casting their popular vote. The Supreme Court stated in January of 2020 that it would review 2 separate cases in Washington and Colorado of electors who refused to vote for Hillary Clinton even as she won the popular vote in their states in 2016. In Washington, 3 electors voted for Colin Powell and was fined $1,000 each. In Colorado, a member of the Electoral College tried to vote for John Kasich, while 2 others refused to vote for Clinton. Those 2 members eventually backed down while the Kasich voter was replaced. The Supreme Court ruling may change the way the Electoral College votes, so we wait. There is a hope that states will move to a compact vote by the 2024 elections, where the popular vote wins the presidential elections. Others disagree, as there have been over 700 proposals to get rid of the Electoral College with no change in the date, as none have been successful. And that's it. You know, for those of you who have always wanted to know why is it that you vote for president and your popular vote makes a difference in some states, right? Some states. It makes a difference in some states where winner takes all. But in a lot of those states where winner takes all, they may only have 3 electoral votes or 5 electoral votes. So and those states don't really matter. So that you can collect a whole bunch of states up in the top tier of the country and still don't have enough votes to win the presidential election, which is why Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a few other states are so important, and they fight like dogs to figure out to get as many votes as possible from these particular states. Pay attention, folks. Philadelphians, you have now 9 in 10 of you have registered to vote, and many of you are going to vote in these elections. I have driven by the sites. I stopped at AB Day Elementary School last Friday on my way somewhere and talked to people. There were brothers in the line saying, I don't know who's telling the tale that brothers are not voting. We are out here voting. People care about what's going on. We have a pandemic. We have massive unemployment rates. We have the killing and shooting of unarmed black people all over the place, and so there's lots and lots going on, and I really want you to pay attention. Shout out to Elijah Wilson, who helped me and taught me where to look for the best information to give you all about the Electoral College votes, and I'm going to talk about this all week long until Election Day so that you understand. You have to put pressure on your local elected officials at your state and federal level, because they're the ones who are choosing who the electors are to vote for President of the United States. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
We've all heard people say this election is the most important of our lifetime. Let's remember why that's true. Under the Trump presidency, racism has found a tragic new normal, emboldened by a president who has demonstrated disrespect and disregard for our communities while embracing and protecting white supremacists. While the coronavirus was taking our family members from us, Donald Trump deceived the nation by withholding information that could have saved lives. He protected himself instead of protecting us. Our economy is in shambles, our children's education jeopardized, and the Trump administration is in court right now trying to take away our health care. This has to end. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are the leaders we need to chart a path toward opportunity, justice, and healing. From affordable health care to quality education and jobs, there's only one choice to move us forward. Vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Paid for by Black PAC and Priorities USA Action, blackpac.com and prioritiesUSAaction.org, which are responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
If you're thinking of voting by mail this election, remember that it's safe, it's secure, and it counts. But there are a few things to keep in mind. While the application deadline is October 27th, you should apply now and send your ballot back as early as possible, before November 3rd. When it comes to sending it back, you can drop it in the mail, use a designated drop box, or return it to a satellite election office. To find one or for more information, visit PhiladelphiaVotes.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you sick of trying to cut and style your own hair and the rest of your family? Well, McLean's Unisex Salon in Mount Airy is open for business. We've been a neighborhood institution for more than 50 years, with styles for men, women, and kids. We have new partitions and social distancing measures to keep everyone safe while keeping the welcoming feel you've come to expect from your neighborhood shop. Visit us online at mcleansunisex.com or call now to make an appointment, 215-844-9826.
4 years ago, Donald Trump asked Black America a simple question. Asked us, what do you have to lose?
What do you have to lose?
Since then, we've seen a rise in racial violence and white supremacy, an increase in poverty.
You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs.
While giving tax cuts to the rich. 200,000 dead from COVID, 1 in 5 are Black. We've lost our jobs, our businesses, our dignity, and even our lives. And he, Trump, dares to ask, what the hell do you have to lose?
What the hell do you have to lose?
Well, Mr. President, damn near everything. After 4 years of Trump, ask yourself, Black America, are you better off? Vote for change.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
Keeping you informed. As a community service, WURD Radio and the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium wants to keep you informed about where you can get no-cost, barrier-free COVID-19 testing this week. Tuesday, October 27th from 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. at Northeast Baptist Church, 4744 Tackawanna Street. Thursday, October 29th from 3 p.m. till 7 p.m. at Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church East, 2800 West Cheltenham Avenue. And Saturday, October 31st from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. at Hartranft Playground Alliance, 800 West Cumberland Street. Stay informed and stay well with WURD Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Hello?
Hey, you've been on my mind, so I'm just calling to check in.
Oh, we're holding up well here in Pennsylvania. Just trying to stay safe and figuring out if we should vote in person or by mail. We like going to the polls.
Yeah, you never miss an election.
And you know we're not missing this year either, and neither should you. But which way is the safest?
Well, remember that valuable information you got from AARP about COVID-19? Mom even had me read it.
Yeah, that was good info.
AARP has up-to-date voting information for 50-plus voters in every state. It's right there at aarp.org/election2020.
Oh, I got it. aarp.org/election2020. I love having the answers before your mama.
Pops, you know what happens when you try to show out.
Yeah, you probably right about that.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. We're going to continue talking about election coverage. It's interesting. I want to read something to you about driverless cars. Go humble to get real. The dream of, so this is written by Shira Ovide from the New York Times, and she says, the dream of computer-driven cars taking over the roads remain a fantasy, but slowly and maybe more modestly than tech idealist imagines, driverless vehicles are getting real. Yeah, because one of my children own one of those cars that will come and get you. Give it a command and it comes and gets you. And that is the, I'm looking at it. What is the name of that car that Enon created? The Tesla. After a period of funk that included a pandemic-related freeze on road tests, driverless car developments are coming back thick and fast in the last few weeks. Waymo, which is part of the same company as Google recently, expanded its driverless taxi service in Phoenix, Arizona, and without a person in the driver's seat in case something goes wrong. General Motors, driverless car company, will also soon remove human minders from its self-driving test cars in San Francisco. Tesla has said it will soon turn on software features that shift many of its cars on the roads into driverless test vehicles. And so it's coming, y'all. It's coming. It's not coming. It's here. It is absolutely here. And I think people are still, you know, a little bit concerned. But this technology has been around for a long time. They're just now, you know, pushing it down to the basic level where we are here. But the government has always had this kind of technology at its disposal. Watch Star Trek. For those of us who are Trekkie fans, man, these things have been around for a long time. Reverend Joe, were you there, sir?
Yeah, good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you these McClellan streets?
I want to encourage your heart because I'm going to be calling this week. I'll be celebrating my 82nd birthday this Saturday coming. I'm
Happy birthday.
My life, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you,
I want you to continue to do what you're doing. But I want to say, we're talking technology. A friend of mine is a disc jockey with another station out of town, and I called the show, and I said, you know what, man, the other day you were outstanding. Those records you played was great. He said, I really didn't do that, Reverend. It was the computer. Those records. I was home. I said, now, listen to me careful what I'm going to say now. The computer was doing a better job than he was doing picking those records. And one last thing. The other thing, a lady called me the other day and said, I'm in Florida, and I wanted to Google the Dixie Hummingbirds on the computer to see what you guys are all about. That's what happened.
What?
A Korean group came up on the computer singing the Dixie Hummingbird songs.
Really?
A Korean, I'm going to take it real slow. All the people listening to this station, it's a Korean group singing the song. So what's going to happen if we don't get it together soon? They got plans to replace us with music, replace us with robots, replace us with machines. They got robots in some hospitals to go to room to see you. So, boy, it's getting late in the evening fall. We better, as they say from North Philly, we better dig ourselves. I'm telling you, Miss Andrea, that's the only reason I call it.
But you know, Reverend Joe, guess what? So first of all, happy birthday when it comes. Happy 82nd turn around the sun when it gets here, because it is a blessing to get to that age.
Yes, ma'am.
And for those of us who are nowhere near your age and starting to feel all the ramifications of the bones moving and the aches and pains everywhere, you have been quite pleasant making it up to 82 years old. So, you know, happy birthday to you when it gets here. The second thing is this, Reverend Joe. I just think a lot of people have not been paying attention, but this is happening, which is why these are the people that are making so much money and have become gazillionaires, because they've been paying attention to what's happening, right? Bitcoins and everything that's going on around. So in China has been in many countries taking them over little by little. Jamaica is one of those countries. And so now, as a Jamaican national, I had to get a brand new birth certificate from over there. When I go back, for those who live in the country, there's a chip that is planted. They were talking about putting the chip planted into their palms so that they can read their palms. So, you know, while we sit here and we fuss and talk about the fact that we have all these liberties, it's shifting and changing like nobody's business. If you notice with COVID-19, they're asking us if we want to make sure that our phones are tracked. Did you notice that on your iPhones, right?
That's right.
So they're able to track your phones to see if you had any contact tracing with different people and what that. So I'm telling you, Reverend Joe, I'm telling you.
Tell these people listening to you, please take it slow. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I really want folks to understand that technology is not coming. Technology is here. It is absolutely here, and we have to pay attention. You know, when we tell people that our posts are private and that everything on our phone has long since been compromised, right? And that's why people are able to reach us and send us all these kinds of text messages and stuff. It's a lot going on out here. And so it is incumbent upon us to be extra mindful about what we share, how we share it, and when we're sharing things, be okay with, you know, if I share it, be okay if the whole world is going to know, because the whole world is going to know. Folks make me laugh when they say, well, they're not my friends on social media. So how would they know? Because other people are snapshotting your stuff, taking what you share, and they put it out there for all to see, right? And so the Tesla now has the ability to come and get you from a parking garage. So you can be across the street, round the corner, and you can give a command to the Tesla to come and get you, right? I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Well,
yes.
Let me share this last story with you. You said the other day about the commode and all that stuff. But, you know, either way, at the table...
Did you say the commode, Reverend Joe?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir. Go ahead.
We either at the table or on the menu. Period. Now, what we got?
Or we're being flushed in the commode.
Yeah, that's right. But here's one last story. The record company we used to record for, Peacock Records, when I was out of Houston, Texas. You know who brought all the master copies of from that company?
Who?
A Japanese company. Now, if you get an album now, everything on the back of the album is written in Japanese.
Because, Reverend Joe, pay attention. Again, listen to this. Because we don't pay attention to the rights, to owning the royalties and the rights for the things that we have, right? And we're so willing to sell something for $1. We don't realize that over time the value far surpasses what we would sell it for in the interim, because we're so excited to make a couple of $1 million.
Yes.
Right? And that's why you hear people saying all the time that China has slowly taken over these United States of America, like they've done just about everywhere else. My sisters and I were laughing the other day, not last night, Reverend Joe. My siblings and I talk all the time. And there's a rain now, intensive rain happening in Jamaica. And a lot of the roads that the Chinese built, the Chinese came and upgraded the infrastructure in Jamaica, right, so that it could be, so they could start taking over little by little. What their engineers failed to listen to were the Jamaican engineers that were born and raised there, who kept saying to them, you cannot build a road here. There's a certain kind of material that you have to use. They were summarily ignored. So now the rains came and washed out millions of dollars of roadway.
Stop it.
Right? Washed them out. A dam that has not flooded since we were born, the Mona Dam, flooded this morning. Hospitals are flooding because folks come in and they think that they know better than we do.
Yeah.
And when you are native to a certain place, that's like me coming into Philly and telling everybody everything they need to know about Philadelphia. If you notice and pay attention, Reverend Joe, I'm still learning everything I need to know about Philadelphia. I'm still learning who all the players are. And even after I learn who all the players are, I will continue to treat people with dignity and respect. It just means I will not be hanging around them.
That's why I just wanted to encourage you. This last story, I worked in Jamaica. They would stop the people from growing stuff in Jamaica. They had to go to Florida to get the same stuff they could grow right there and ship it back to them to pay more money. I know you know that story.
Oh, I do know that. Yes, absolutely.
What's happening? What will it take to wake us up? Just tell me, please.
So, Reverend Joe, what it's going to take to wake us up is exactly what's happening in the country right now. We have a pandemic that's taking out so many of us. The unemployment rates are ridiculous. I've never seen so many people at the polls, not even when President Barack Obama was running for president, right? People are really slowly, they're waking up out of their slumber and understanding that it is bigger than us. When hate groups are driving down the street and trying to intimidate folks, when folks are afraid to put up their political signs because they're afraid of being targeted by hate groups, when we look up and our people were being killed by police officers in broad daylight with cameras on them with impunity. That's what we're waking up, Reverend Joe.
Well,
we're absolutely waking up.
And thank you for what you're doing. Keep me on your prayer list because I got you on mine.
Oh, thank you, sir. You have a wonderful day, and thank you for being my first call. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you. God bless.
All right, bye-bye. Ooh, child. And these were calling to the streets. Lots going on. And so I say this to us all the time. Look, we have been a people who have been traumatized in more ways than 10. I get it. I understand that there are days we don't even want to figure out what we're eating for breakfast. I get it, right? But we cannot afford, not right now, with our children dying, with us dying, with the unemployment rates crazy as it is, with the federal, the CIA and the Federal Bureau of Investigations and the Secret Service telling us that this country has been compromised by foreign entities. We don't have the time to sit around and behave as if, well, it doesn't affect me, because quite frankly, it impacts me. And long after these elections are over, next week, Tuesday, the ramifications of everything that has been happening in this country up until this point, we're going to feel it for years to come, starting with those judges. Lord, speaking of judges, let me go back to the local news and share something with you. Because Mother was just, Lord, I didn't know. This was written by the Philadelphia Tribune. A Philadelphia judge and a local civil rights lawyer are raising the alarm over an ongoing culture of racial resentment and tensions inside the city's court system. In a scathing letter to the First Judicial District of Pennsylvania, judges this past week, the municipal judge Karen Y. Simmons and Michael Cord, demanded the FDJ immediately address the systemic inequities in the court's culture detailed in a July report. Cord, a civil rights lawyer, faulted the FDJ for failing to implement a series of recommendations laid out in the report conducted by the Center for Urban and Racial Equity. The fire department told you that it's not a smoke, it's a fire. Do something about it, Cord said in a Friday interview. In their letter, Simmons and Cord called the FDJ to create an independent office to immediately put in place and oversee the report's recommendations and to circulate the state Supreme Court's policy on non-discrimination and equal opportunity to all employees. Simmons and Cord sent the letter to the President Common Pleas Judge IDC Fox, chairwoman of the Administrative Governing Board, and other judges and administrators on the board on Wednesday. The board is a panel of judges that oversees court management. Fox did not directly address the issues and recommendations Simmons and Cord raised in a response letter on Friday. She said the makeup of the governing board is scheduled to change on November 2nd, but leadership will remain focused on equity and the Cure report. While our leadership will undergo changes, the work of making our system more equitable by using Cure's findings will continue to be a central focus of this board, Fox said to the letter. FDJ spokesman Gabrielle Roberts did not respond to questions about what, if any, specific steps the leadership is taking to address the issues detailed in the Cure report. Pull up that Cure report for me, please. Just look it up. Because I want to see what the issues were. Common Pleas Judge Sierra Thomas Street, former chairwoman of the Clifford Scott Green Judicial Council, said in an email that she was concerned about the issues raised by Simmons and Cord. Street said now is the time to raise awareness and apply pressure regarding injustice in the city's court system, which is the largest and most diverse in the state. I hope and also have reason to believe that our court leadership will act accordingly and begin to address these issues with conviction, transparency, and in a timely manner, Street said. Cure, an independent organization, laid out the racial and other issues in an equity organizational assessment that it completed in 2019 for the governing board. The governing board withheld the report until July, when it publicly released the report under pressure from city legislators and others. The Cure report found a troubling pattern of racial resentment among some white staff and judges, which was often expressed as disbelief that institutional and structural racism exists and belief that reverse racism is as significant as racism against people of color, the report found. The report also noted one white judge who said, black coalitions seem to now rule, and a white employee said, as far as ethnicity in my life experience, he who cries racism is usually steeped in racism. Lord have mercy, even up at the highest levels. Simmons herself was a victim of the discriminatory behavior 2 years ago. She received an anonymous racist letter in her chambers when she was running to become president judge of the municipal court. The Cure report faulted court leadership for its handling of Simmons' case, saying that the racist letter was not taken seriously, and staff of color, particularly women of color, took note that the intersection of racism and sexism is not taken seriously by white employees throughout the FJD. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
This year's been tough, but it's given me a lot of time to learn new skills through the internet.
I've been joining more classes during lockdown.
I'm doing an internship.
I taught myself how to play guitar.
So when people ask,
will I be able to learn online?
I feel like I'm ready.
Internet Essentials from Comcast has connected millions of families from low-income homes to the internet. So no matter what back to school looks like, students can be ready for anything. Learn more at comcast.com/Internet Essentials.
As our nation battles a pandemic and economic downturn, the health and financial security of voters over 50 are on the line. That's why AARP Pennsylvania is fighting for your voice to be heard. From preventing cuts to Social Security, to protecting Medicare, to lowering prescription drug prices, you deserve to cast your vote on issues that matter to you, and AARP Pennsylvania is here to help. We want to make sure that you know all of your voting options and that all Americans, from working parents to family caregivers to seniors in nursing homes, can vote safely whether they choose to vote from home or in person. To learn more about how AARP Pennsylvania is fighting to protect voters 50 plus and how to make your voice heard this November, visit aarp.org/PA votes. Paid for by AARP.
New Voices for Reproductive Justice is mobilizing Black women in Philly and our families to vote on Tuesday, November 3rd. You can mail or drop off your ballot or vote early in person at 20 locations in Philadelphia and Delaware County right now. For more information, visit newvoicesrj.org/2020 elections. That's newvoicesrj.org/2020 elections.
The WURD Radio newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting WURDradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio newsletter.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. So in more news, a homeless man faces murder charges in deadly South Jersey fire, written by Becca Hendrickson for 6ABC. A homeless man is facing murder charges in connection with an apartment fire that left 2 people dead and 9 others injured on Sunday morning in Camden, New Jersey. Firefighters were called out to the 3400 block of Kramer Street around 3:15 a.m. for reports of people trapped inside a 3-story apartment. According to the Camden County Prosecutor's Office, Brandon Adams, 34, who is homeless, is being charged with first-degree felony murder for intentionally setting the fire. Firefighters said they saw flames shooting from the building and a person jumping from the 3rd floor. Shortly after, firefighters said a second alarm was struck and crews from surrounding towns were called in to assist. 2 men died in the blaze. 9 others were taken to area hospitals for unknown injuries. Madness. In national news, it says here, Senate advances Amy Coney Barrett nomination ahead of final confirmation vote. The final vote is expected this evening. Senate Republicans, it was written by the Associated Press, voted overwhelmingly Sunday. Now, we can't get them to pass a relief package for the people who have continued to lose their jobs, but they worked on Sunday night now to make sure that they could advance Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett toward final confirmation despite Democratic objections just over a week before the presidential elections. The vote was 51-48. Barrett's confirmation on Monday was hardly in doubt, with the majority of Republicans mostly united in support behind President Donald Trump's pick. But Democrats were poised to keep the Senate in session into the night in attempts to stall, arguing that the November 3rd election winner should choose the nominee to fill the vacancy left by the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, otherwise known as RBG. Republicans are excited by the chance to install a 3rd Trump justice on the court, locking in a conservative majority for years to come. Barrett's ascent opens up a potential new era of rulings on abortion, gay marriage, and the Affordable Care Act. A case against the Obama-era health law scheduled to be heard November 10th. Vice President Mike Pence would typically preside over the coming votes, but after a close aide tested positive for the COVID-19, it was unclear whether he will fulfill his role for the landmark vote. The conservative judge picked up the crucial backing Saturday from Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, one of the last GOP holdouts against filling the seat in the midst of a White House election and with more than 50 million people already having voted. Murkowski said she disliked the rush toward confirmation, but supported Trump's choice of Barrett for the higher court. Lord. Now, the only Republican expected to vote against Barrett is Susan Collins, who faces a tight re-election in Maine. She has said she won't vote for the nominee so close to the election. Ooh. And this just in, the Dow is down 900 points amid COVID-19 surge. I'm telling you, this is the perfect storm happening this entire week leading up to the elections. Maurice from Southwest, are we still going to the polls, sir?
Stripping to the polls, like I keep telling you. I know I at least got 1,000 people in my neighborhood.
I know you did. Thank you, sir.
But listen, look, I'm really angry, and I'm not angry at the white man. I'm angry at us.
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell you why I'm angry at us.
Go ahead.
First of all, we don't have a plan B in case Trump wins. We don't have a plan.
Yes.
See, we gotta operate like other ethnic groups in the city. It doesn't matter who wins. They take care of themselves, and we don't do that. We want to cry and talk about what shouldn't be and what should be, but we don't want to get up and lift a finger to do anything about it. You know, I've been all over this state. I lived with white people for years, and I hated every minute of it. But I learned how to adapt. When they didn't even look at, after a while, they didn't even look at me as being black anymore, because anything they said to me, I didn't give them what the answer they wanted. Oh, you know you can bring in the weed. Oh, I know you love fried chicken and watermelon. Oh, I don't do none of that, even though I do. But I never let them know it. You got to show them something different. Like right now, we keep talking about Trump, but the puppet master is Mitch McConnell, people.
Yes.
Stop looking at the guy. Trump is a tool. You got to understand what a tool is. They put him out there. He get all the bad press. He get all the bananas thrown at him. But the guy that really controls the Republican Party, we should be focusing all our money and effort to get that man out of office.
Yes.
And we don't even think like that. We Trump. No, it's Mitch McConnell. He the one that stopped Obama for getting in a Supreme Court justice. Trump wasn't even around then. We got to understand these battles. And here's the part about doing local. Where are our state reps? What are they doing? They already know they going in to the election with no competition. That's why you don't hear or see from them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They should be out just for the point of getting everybody out to vote. Just on that point alone. But they selfish. They sit around. They lost that $200 stipend for 15,000 people in this state who they weren't poor. They just needed the little extra money for medical things, like so they can have some food while they pay the medical bills. And they let the Republicans sneak that past them. So I hold everybody accountable. I mean, I might joke sometimes, but I don't have a college education. I wasn't raised there, but guess what? I got common sense, and I got a PhD in that.
So
I'm just trying to tell people, all you got to do is listen to what they say and what they do, and that's your answer. Stop standing up for these people that do nothing for you, city council, do nothing for you. They use gentrification. People don't understand. Gentrification and murder go together. When there's murders, people move out, and that's the seniors who move out because they don't want no trouble, and they give up their homes.
Right.
That's what it's all about. So when they get up there and do all this talking, they got the money to do it. They just don't want to do it. So when you see these people, stop looking for selfies and tell them how great they are and ask them, what have you done for me lately?
Maurice, it's so interesting because I just wrote a whole piece on the Electoral College, right? And how those people are chosen and that those are the 538 votes that chooses who the President of the United States will be. And in my research, I found out that, do you need my paper? In my research, I found out, Maurice, that some of those electoral votes were chosen by those same politicians that you're talking about, right, from the Senate and the Congress, who would give the electoral vote to people who they reward them for favors, right, or they would allow you to vote for who that person should be in the general election when we're looking at our ballots, something that most people don't even know. I called so many people who I thought would know everything about this election and how the Electoral College works, and I'm finding that 7 out of 10 people are not aware of how the Electoral College works, that our popular vote does not necessarily mean that we will have a president of these United States. And so anything can happen, right? Are you still there, Maurice?
I'm right. I never hang up on the phone on you.
Oh, listen. So then now, how do we get people to understand, Maurice, that aside from the President of the United States, which we have very little power as a people until they figure out how to change or shift or amend the Constitution so that the Electoral College doesn't carry that much weight?
It depends on people like you who are informing the people. Look, I've been with URD before they even started. That's how much. I'm a disciple of Cody Anderson, and I've been with him from the start. And I hear these people talk like police don't know the law, politicians don't know politics. And the thing we got to say, look at this right now. Now, everybody's upset with, I'm just going to go local. Everybody's upset with Kenny about the stop and frisk. But are we together as black people forming who we want to be the next mayor? We're going to sit around and let the city council tell us who the mayoral candidate is instead of us picking our own candidate. And that's where the problem starts.
Yeah, but I am hoping right now that we're watching other people around the country led by men and women, black men and women, who are saying we're not just doing what the Democrats or the Republicans tell us. We choose what we want to do. Yeah, and we're seeing a break apart from all of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Mother, let me tell you something. I got friends all over the country, right? Let me tell you something. They're looking at us in Pennsylvania.
Oh, I know.
They're looking at Philadelphia. If people knew that we had all these black people on city council, they think we was in a black state somewhere.
Yep.
They have no idea. They say, man, y'all must get everything y'all want. You must live in Chocolate City.
Yeah.
We got all those people on city council. Why did black people before COVID only had 2.5% of
the businesses here? I know, Maurice. It is unconscionable. And I'm thinking, I had a black sister who was trying to buy properties here, and I use her as an example because she's in Baltimore now, killing it. She went to Baltimore City Council. They sat down and listened to her and said, tell us what you want to do. Took her into the neighborhood so she could meet with the people there, and she started buying up the blocks. Right? She said that the amount of red tape and ignoring that happened at her at the Philadelphia level was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Same thing could be done here. Let me tell you something. I won't close with this because I've been on too long. Let me tell you something. The bottom, which is used to be called the Black Bottom Mansion, is the best land in the city. You're right near the park. You're near the zoo.
Yes.
You're near the highway.
Yep.
You're near the art museum. You're near the colleges. That area, I used to live down there. People, they had no idea what they had. And the ones that tried to stay on their property and keep it so they could get paid, they used eminent domain on it.
Yes.
And they only could get whatever the book say is worth. It might be a $50,000 property, and they're just paying for that. But everybody knows it's actually a $500,000 property. But they couldn't cash in because they came and put eminent domain and gave it to the developer. So let's stop looking and blaming other people and these fake people that we think that's running it. And the people that's in elected office that we put in there, they know exactly what's going on. Stop question marking them and go to their office and ask for some answers.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Maurice. It's always a pleasure. Let's not see, when you're stripping to the polls, make sure you have some clothes on, Maurice. Let's not play these games now. We don't have to get you arrested going to the polls. Always a pleasure talking to you, sir. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. We will be right back after these messages.
Reverend Tyler, with November 3rd around the corner, do you know how you'll be voting this year?
Dr. Callahan, I requested my mail-in ballot, and I'm returning it the day it comes in the mail.
That's perfect, because we can't leave anything to chance this year.
Already received your mail-in ballot? You're just a few simple steps away from turning your mailbox into a ballot box. Here's how. After selecting your candidates, place your marked ballot into the small secrecy envelope and seal it. It's a 2-envelope process, so then you'll place the small secrecy envelope into the larger one. Make sure to seal that one too. Sign and date it, and then it's as simple as dropping it in your mailbox, no postage necessary, or returning it to your county election office. And if you still want to sign up to vote by mail or find out where to drop off your mail-in ballot, visit votespa.com.
I'm not waiting until November 3rd. I'm returning my mail-in ballot the day it comes in the mail.
Or you can return your ballot to your county election office.
I've got my plan. Make your plan to vote today.
Paid for by Power Interfaith.
Pico has many ways to help you lower your energy usage and save money at home. Here's one. If your heating and cooling system is more than 20 years old, it may be time for your contractor to replace it with a high-efficiency Energy Star certified model. You'll get a rebate from Pico and save on your monthly electric bill. You'll find a list of new heating and cooling system rebates at pico.com/rebates. Or you can call 1-888-5-PICO-SAVE for all the details. Plus, find instant discounts on smart thermostats and more at pico.com/marketplace. There's free shipping on orders over $49.
This is not a fad for us. We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are undeniably, indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media. WURD.
Four years ago, Donald Trump asked Black America a simple question. Asked us, what do you have to lose?
What do you have to lose?
Since then, we've seen a rise in racial violence and white supremacy, an increase in poverty.
You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs.
While giving tax cuts to the rich. 200,000 dead from COVID, 1 in 5 are Black. We've lost our jobs, our businesses, our dignity, and even our lives. And he, Trump, dares to ask, what the hell do you have to lose?
What the hell do you have to lose?
Well, Mr. President, damn near everything. After 4 years of Trump, ask yourself, Black America, are you better off? Vote for change.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
Always Best Care is a great place to work. Flexibility,
Leadership. Purpose.
great benefits.
There's never a dull moment.
Diversity, inclusion, compasión.
We love our jobs. If you're looking for a great place to work, you can join our compassionate Team Green. You can apply online at teamgreenabc.com or call 267-909-9248.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. The views and opinions expressed by the guests, listeners, and hosts of any program on WURD Radio do not necessarily reflect those of ownership, management, or advertisers of this station.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDRadio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Mike is The Source Education Hour is brought to you by Internet Essentials from Comcast. High-speed home internet for low-income families for just $8.95 per month. Visit internetessentials.com to learn more. I'm going to read that again because Mike had me over here losing my mind. The Source Education Hour. Excuse me. This is not working out for me, is it? The Source Education Hour is brought to you by Internet Essentials from Comcast. High-speed home internet for low-income families for just $9.95 per month. Visit internetessentials.com to learn more. Thank you, Comcast. I love that you chose to do this on The Source, and we fully appreciate you. Moving right along, this just in. Gun trafficking operation busted in Montgomery County. The group operating out of Norristown was connected to 15 straw purchases of firearms, which is when a third-party buyer purchases a weapon for someone who cannot legally own one. This could be anyone from a convicted felon to the mentally ill to a child. Lord, there's so much going on. All right. As the Senate prepares for a final vote on Amy Coney Barrett's nomination, the Biden... Oh, wait, I have a caller. Terry from Darby. Terry, are you there? Terry?
I am.
Oh, thank you so much. I almost forgot about you. Mike threw me off just now.
First of all, I want to say good afternoon to you. I enjoy your show. I've been listening to First Pick first-time caller.
Oh, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I wanted to piggyback on what the gentleman just said about state representatives in Pennsylvania. In Darby Township, we're represented by the 185th District, and our state rep is now Regina Young, who took a grassroots campaign and unseated Maria Donatucci in this district. And then nobody ran against her, like he said, on the other side. We'll take that seat in January, but from May until presently, he's been heavily on the scene, holding rallies, campaigns, and going to different functions, getting folks to vote, getting the census. We did a big thing out in Delaware County, the census. So she's been working. I don't know about these other state reps, but I just wanted to say that.
Tell me her name again, Terry.
Her name is Regina Young.
Regina Young. Okay.
And we're the 185th District.
In Darby.
Darby Township.
Darby Township. Okay.
And one other thing he said about the bottom of West Philly, because I grew up in Mill Creek, but I'm recognizing here in Darby Township, we are on the Philadelphia border at 84th and Lindbergh, which puts us on close enough to two interstates and the international airport. And I'm trying to get this community, because it is predominantly black, to understand if we don't get organized and if we don't get it together, they're coming for this. This is a gold mine where we're at. You could pack your suitcase, literally, and on a good day, walk to the airport from my front door if that's what you wanted to do.
Wow. So
you know they coming for this.
Yes. And so, Terry, I'm so glad you called in, because I want people to understand the value of where they live. You know, that the value of the properties that they own, and not to allow, but you're right, they have to organize, that when people start to come and say things like, we'd like to buy your property and we want to do this and we want to do that.
Our neighborhoods are starting to get flooded with literature. I've been seeing that, and I'm getting radio and random calls from investors. So I know the hunt is beginning. If it's not already fully owned, by the time you heard about it, it's already in full motion.
That's right. In fact, they've been planning for years, because this is not accidental, right? The flooding the communities with literature is just one of the last steps. You better believe they had done their research, looked at the land, looked at the affordability of the land, look at what they could put on the land, how much money they could make on the land, who their investors were going to be on the land. And that's what I want us to get, that we have to get out of the emotional state and start to really pay attention to what's going on around us every single day. In my community, in my neighborhood where I live, we have a great neighborhood association who are just like, this is coming, that we're not doing this, and they keep us informed. Right, so we know when to show up to vote, when to do certain things. But this is not happening in every neighborhood. And for the people
we just started one. I've been in and out living in this community since 1977, and unfortunately, I had never heard of it.
Right.
So we tardy to the party. We're getting there. But again, like you said, these are things that me living here all these years never talked about. We never focused on this. And like you go to that little park up your way where you do your running.
Yes.
We're on the back of the John Hines National Refuge. The people in the neighborhood, I'm telling you, they're coming.
Let me tell you something. You know what, Terry? Let me tell you something. So yesterday, I go hiking every Sunday. I try to do between 8 to 10 miles. And so we're hiking in the Wissahickon Trail. And we take this trail, Terry, that goes way up. And we were like, Lord, we're going to fall out. We get to the top of the trail and see right there in Philadelphia, on the edge of that trail, the most amazing house. And I said to myself, this is federal land where people are able to buy parts of it. And these are the things we don't see. That was Philadelphia. This wasn't, I was in some other county somewhere. These people were living right there in Philadelphia. So we have to pay attention to those who are coming in, taking the opportunities and continuing to build wealth, for lack of a better expression, on our backs.
And that's what's happening. Because what I am seeing is this community is being flooded, I'm going to say, with subsidized and low-income housing, because you're trying to pull the mark it down.
Yes.
Can come in here.
Oh, Terry, you got it, honey.
Come in here on the cheap and give me pennies for this property that you know is worth hundreds of thousands.
Yes, Terry.
But because there's no value here, because we've allowed this is our fault. You got me.
Yep, you are absolutely right. You know, right down there by the Fairmont Parkway near the Art Museum used to be a lot of Hispanics, Puerto Ricans that lived there. And they allowed that whole section to go down, took it over. You can't even afford to park over there these days, right? A one-bedroom apartment is $1 million. And so as a people, you know, how do we educate ourselves to the place where we start to recognize things the way you are recognizing it? And then how do you get your neighbors to pay attention to you and come together and say, okay, not here, right?
Andrea, the only thing I can tell them is listen to WURD, because I'm going to be honest with you. Again, I am from this community, and like that brother just said, I've been with WURD from the day they turned the signal on their AM dial. I have heard so much in this decade. I've learned so much. I have now followed, you included, so many different ideas and voices. People, they, especially our people, I'm just going to speak for us, we're not listening to this stuff, and we're not having these conversations. I'm telling you, half the people I talk to in this neighborhood, they're not aware of anything that you guys are talking about. Eminent domain, watch out for this, and, you know, it's just not their conversation. They still kind of, I'm going to say silly chatter, because that's what I call it. It's silly chatter that distracts you from what's really going on. And by the time, like I said, you figure it out, it's already done, because this stuff doesn't happen in the vacuum. This is a plan.
Yes, and they need to understand that it is the plan, right? And so when people decide that they want to run for office, because again, in recent news, Philly made the dubious distinction of being the poorest big city in the country. Nothing for us to be happy and excited about, right?
No.
And so when I see my elected officials and they're, you know, President Obama is in town and everybody's just really happy about him being here, but then when we say to them, what can you do? What are you doing? How are you coming together as a collective to elevate the city out of the dubious place of being the poorest large city in this country? Everybody turn their heads, looking to the left, looking to the right, but we want to take our pictures though. You know, and so for me, I am at the place, and I've said this very openly. You don't ever have to come on The Source and talk to me if you're not coming to talk about anything that isn't worth talking about that will help the people. I cannot do it. My conscience and good moral code will not allow me to shuck and jive and kiki when I'm watching all of what's going on in our city.
And we're fighting the same resistance here, because we actually are in WURD. So I am in WURD 1. A young black brother from this community now holds that seat. And with the changes and the things that he's bringing to the community and letting us know what's going on, you would think it would be a bigger flood and rally behind him. But instead, I'm going to say it, the proverbial bananas and oranges and eggs being thrown, and the tomatoes being thrown at you like, really? Y'all don't get what this guy is saying to you? You don't get what this guy is doing here?
Yeah.
We get stuck, though. We get stuck.
Yeah.
So
it's hard.
We'll see how it turns out. I'm going to keep you posted.
Yeah, please do. Please call in and keep me posted so that I can figure out how to fully support, you know, and to continue to draw a light to these things. And, you know, Terry, continue to pray for those of us who are hosting these radio shows, because we have to give you the news. We have to tell you what we know. And in as much as we can give you, quote unquote, our opinions really don't belong into all of this, right? We have to share with you what we know as fact and keep it moving at all costs. And it's not always easy.
What I do love about you guys, I don't care if from show to show to show, you all kind of stay on the same subject.
Yes.
Okay? But it's still always a different angle, idea, point of view, something that I always get out of it. I don't care if I'm listening to 5 different people talking about the same thing all day long. It's still, y'all keep it fresh for me.
Thank you.
And I'm a member, and I tell anybody that listen,
Yeah.
And they know, oh, do you know such and such a song? No, I only listen to AM. I don't listen to music. I only listen to talk radio. They know that.
Yes. Yeah, we have to work now on getting younger people to register to WURD, though. That's important. Yes.
I will sing it from the rooftop.
Yes. All right, Terry. You have a good one, okay?
You also.
All right. Bye-bye. Mike from New Jersey. Mike?
Good afternoon. I think I caught probably the end of what that young lady was saying before. I didn't get the conversation prior to, but she was talking about buying homes in the community. I can tell you that I buy a lot of homes in a lot of communities, and there's no buyers if there's no sellers. And here's what I see. What I see is in a lot of the communities, children get left homes. When I say children, I'm not talking 12-year-olds. I'm talking 24-year-olds, 34-year-olds, 44-years-olds. Mom dies, grandmom dies. They want the money immediately, instant gratification. They turn around and they sell their generational wealth
as
soon as they can get it. And then what do? They go out and they buy depreciating assets like a new Kia or a new Toyota and close, and then they have nothing left over. So if you want to stop this, I guess you'll call it flight on the community, stop having people sell their homes, because if you don't sell, there are no people out there like me who will come in and buy and then turn around, put $50,000, $100,000 into the property, and then turn around and double, triple my money.
Yes. That that is honesty in its purest form coming from you. Thank you. Because you're absolutely right about that, Mike. You're absolutely right about that. Unfortunately, go ahead.
Here's another thing. Here's another thing too, ma'am. Of what happens is that I'll put up. What I'll do is when I go into an area and I buy a home, I'll go up and down the street. I'll knock on the doors and I'll let them know that, hey, there's going to be some construction going on. I give them my business card and I let them know about a referral fee. That if they know anybody who's selling a home, to call me and I'll pay them a referral fee. And you would be amazed how many people call me. And it breaks my heart to say it, but this is capitalism at its finest. I'll get children calling me. When I say children, again, these aren't children of 12 years old. These are 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-years-olds living with mom, saying, hey, I know my mom's behind on her taxes. She's probably thinking about selling.
No way.
Do you want to buy her house? Because they're looking for that $500 or $1,000 referral fee.
No way. So the instant gratification, that is not even worth it.
Ma'am, I'm telling you, I buy more houses from referrals than I do any other way. Because when a house, most homes in Philadelphia, they just, they go, in some areas, they go kind of quickly. So if you list them with a realtor, they'll go pretty quickly. Most of the business that I get, most of the homes that I buy are literally people calling me, hey, I know my neighbor's behind on their mortgage. They may want to sell. Hey, my mother, my aunt, whomever it may be, hey, I know they're behind on the mortgage, or they don't have a mortgage and they owe money for taxes, or they need money for this or that. And I'll approach them. And I got to be honest with you. I tell people, most people I deal with, I say, look, go traditional, put the house up for sale, put some money into it, put it up for sale. You will make money on it. And they just don't understand. I hate to say it, they just don't have the capacity, a lot of people, to understand that if they put money into it, they can get double, triple what I'm going to pay them for it.
Right.
It's the same thing with the kids. When the kids come to me, when it's a kid situation, again, I keep saying kids, but the younger generation, I should say, when they come to me and say, hey, look, you want to buy a house, I'll go in, I'll take a look at it, and I'll tell them a lot of times, look, you do understand I'm going to pay you X, but this house is really going to end up being worth X amount more. If you put $30,000 into this house, you're still going to sell to me for $30,000. I'll put $30,000 or $50,000 into it, and I'm going to sell for $250,000.
Right.
You can do the same thing.
Right.
And they just don't understand, or they just want the, we don't want to bother that. We just want to get out of it. Mom lived here, grandmom lived here, and they want out of the house. So how soon can you get me the money? That's all they care about.
Yeah.
And you know what I do at that point?
What?
I do my due diligence. I do a title check on the house to see what's owed on the house. See, make sure there's not a mortgage. And within 10 to 15 days, guess what? I'm handing them a check,
and they're gone.
And they're gone. And what do I see them later? And again, I don't mean to repeat myself.
Right.
But what do I see later on in the neighborhood? They're driving down the street in a brand new depreciated car that they paid $20,000 for. That's now worth $12,000.
Yep. Absolutely. Mike, thank you so much for calling. I fully appreciate your calling in today, okay?
You,
all right,
hey,
bye-bye.
Yes,
wow.
Bye-bye.
Wow. Mike speaks truth. Oftentimes, we don't think to, It is better for you to take out a loan to fix up your house than it is to take out a loan to buy a brand new car that's going to depreciate. I've had people laugh at me when I say my car is 10, 12, 11, 12 years old because I understand the value that cars. And when I buy a car, it is a car that's going to last a long, long time. I look at my cars and what's going to be something that I can drive into the ground, because quite frankly, if my car is what I want people to see, to feel better about myself, then I am missing something, a key ingredient inside of me. It's never about the car, right? And so he's absolutely right. And so if you watch people who have a ton of wealth, they don't put all their money into cars and into, name brand clothes and that kind of stuff. You want to figure out, if you're going to spend that kind of money, how are you going to make money to recoup some of that, to do what you need to do? He made absolute sense. I can't even be mad at him. George.
Mom, how you doing?
I'm good. Now listen, George, you're not going to hang up on me without saying goodbye today, right?
But I called you back.
I heard.
I called you back before you could even mention it over the air. I don't.
You don't want no trouble, Mom. You don't want no trouble, George.
No trouble at all. I have enough problems and headaches out me to people lying all day. But the caller before me is that he's a prime example of what people got to understand. African Americans always get mad when people come buy houses in their neighborhood.
Yep.
Look who's selling the house. You can't tell people what to do with their property.
Yes.
Yep. I say it all the time. I mean, who they sell it to and how they sell it, they don't want it. Because you're a realtor, you can't make me be a realtor. Or because you're into rehab and you can't make me be into rehab. It's just the way it is, And the sad part is that what used to be your neighborhood is no longer your neighborhood.
Yes.
They talk about the African American, this is that, this is that. No, it's not your neighborhood.
Right.
It's the homeowner's neighborhood. You're renting. Okay, that's just like they tell them, like in North Philly. It used to be 60-some% white. Now it's almost up to 70% white. You used to control in the little areas they let you stay in, those little rundown rented areas.
Yes,
you're there because they letting you be there, because they just don't go in there and just buy up everything. They already bought it.
Yeah,
it's just they haven't decided to develop it yet.
Yes,
Yes. And I didn't call you for that. I called you for this. Everybody keeps talking about these few these few young men. African American, they're not even African American. They don't know what they are. But they keep saying that they're going to vote for Trump. One, they're looking for attention. Two, remember this, and I don't even tell them. Then they're not even registered to vote. They think that, because they're saying it is a factual. And a lot of them is doing it for attention. So you give them attention by talking about it or talking to them about it.
Right. Right.
You can tell. I mean, you hear old folks used to say that you never know how stupid a person is until they open their mouth. It's better for you to be thought as a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. So therefore, you listen to some people, just listen to them, and you just ask yourself, are they even worth the conversation of you going any further?
Right.
And usually your answer is no. I don't think I want to engage with this crazy person. Some of them are worse than talking to Trump. And Trump is like a cult guy. He wants a cult following. But like they say, these people can play around with this if they want, especially these younger people. And let me say this here, and it's no offense to most young people, but to the rest of them that it offends, I hope it offends them well. Stop thinking because you young somebody owe you something. Everything you get within time and age, you don't have a right to be old. It's a privilege to be old. So when you see older people, you got to ask yourself, what is it I can learn from them? Yes. I always knew that. My parents and my grandparents, my grandfather always told me. He said, you can always learn something from a person older than you, and you can learn something from a person younger than you, but you only can learn so much from a person that's younger than you. So therefore, when they start talking about, get them old people out of there, one day you're going to be old, and they're going to say, look, push them down the steps.
Yeah.
Yours become worse. You say get them out of office. And if you notice, every last one of the older people that so far here in Philadelphia that they got out of office, that's been around a long time, look at their district. Look at what they used to service you at. Do you get in service now?
Yeah.
You know, this part of the city I laugh at the most is West Philadelphia.
Right.
Councilwoman Blackwell is gone, and those people had it good. Trust me, they had it good. It ain't even been a year. It hasn't been 2 years, and over like maybe, 6,500 African-American jobs gone. Zoom. Just out, wiped out. And you know who replaced them? Suburbanites, white, middle-class men. You know, look at the housing stock over there. You know, what was protected? Look at Southwest. All Southwest is the new Queens, New York. Within 2 years, they already bought up all the private land. Now the city's going to give them the rest. So, you know, those Africans who are living over there, they'll be out. You know, it's like
George.
you got to look at, be careful what you ask for.
Yes,
Sometimes
ma'am.
You ask for something, then you decide that you don't want it. It's non-refundable and non-returnable.
Yeah.
You know?
And our assets are something that we have to really hold on to, and we haven't figured it out. George, I got to take a break, man, because I'm a minute past. But you have a great one, okay?
And you have a great day, too.
All right,
I'm not
honey.
hanging up on you.
All right. Bye-bye. You are listening to The Source. I love the WURD listening audience. 96.1 FM, 900 AM. I haven't even checked the Facebook group in a minute. Streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Her great-great-grandfather was former KKK Grand Dragon Edmund Pettus. Her great-grandfather was famed Harlem Renaissance poet Arna Bontemps. So writing and revolution are in her blood. On Wednesday, October 28th at 7:30 p.m., join in a riveting virtual conversation with educator and legacy provocateur Carolyn Randall Williams. After garnering international acclaim for her recent New York Times essay, You Want a Confederate Monument? My Body is a Confederate Monument. Williams will share much more about her role in the movement to dismantle race and gender-based violence through the power of her voice and her words. Don't miss what is sure to be an amazing virtual event on Wednesday, October 28th at 7:30 p.m. My Body is a Monument with Carolyn Randall Williams. This is a free event, but registration is required. Visit firstpersonarts.org's events page to reserve your spot today. Presented by the Philadelphia Department of Behavioral Health Engaging Males of Color Initiative and First Person Arts.
Donald Trump hasn't grown into the job because he can't. And the consequences of that failure are severe. Millions of jobs gone, while those at the top take in more than ever. Our worst impulses unleashed, and our democratic institutions threatened like never before.
We need a leader ready for the job. Joe Biden. Make a plan to vote. Our lives depend on it.
Paid for by AFSCME Me People, which is responsible for the content of this ad. AFSCMEPeople.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
4 years ago, Donald Trump asked Black America a simple question. Asked us, what do you have to lose?
What do you have to lose?
Since then, we've seen a rise in racial violence and white supremacy, an increase in poverty.
You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs.
While giving tax cuts to the rich. 200,000 dead from COVID, 1 in 5 are Black. We've lost our jobs, our businesses, our dignity, and even our lives. And he, Trump, dares to ask, what the hell do you have to lose?
What the hell do you have to lose?
Well, Mr. President, damn near everything. After 4 years of Trump, ask yourself, Black America, are you better off? Vote for change.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
Hi, I'm Keir Bradford Gray, the Chief Defender of the Defender Association of Philadelphia. I've spent my career helping to reform our criminal justice system by advancing client-centered representation that empowers our communities to be stronger and safer. Our communities are still over-policed and under-resourced. This year, accountability is on the ballot, and we can finally have the community police oversight that we desperately need.
Paid for by Black Vote PA, which is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.theelectionisnow.com.
Jobs, entrepreneurship opportunities, small business resources, and financial literacy. Livelihood. the new initiative from WURD Radio to connect Philadelphians to resources to help take the next steps in their professional lives. WordWorks.com features career readiness tools, entrepreneurship resources, funding opportunities, and events to expand your livelihood. Visit WURDworks.com right now and take the next step in your professional journey. Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDRadio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. So I just got over to the Facebook page, and I'm going to read some of what was being said here. Bernita Francine says, consider having Tracy Gordon on your show to further discuss her efforts to address these issues. In fact, you're absolutely right, Bernita. I was just thinking about Tracy Gordon when I was listening to, what was being said, right? Malcolm White says, I have family with homes in the LaSalle area, and they're trying to hold on to their properties. Not easy thing to do. Melissa Brunson said something that made absolute sense. She says, the way he put it was a little racist. This was when, what's his name called? When Mike called from New Jersey. Some people are hurting and need the money just to live. Some people don't know the ins and outs of how to get their grandparents' home in their name after the grandparent or parent passes on. Melissa, I hear you, and I want you to know that I hear what you said, and I acknowledge what you've said. I also believe that what you're saying is absolutely true because I have seen it happen time and again. I also, though, wanted people to hear from this white man and how he has been able to gain the houses. He doesn't get from his lens point of view that they can't just find $30,000 to fix up the house, right? Because from his lens, remember, what we see and how we operate is how we move things. So from his lens, he's seeing, I have this kind of money to do X, Y, and Z. Just go get a loan, it doesn't work that way. All right, Mabel, I'll get to you in a hot second, lady, because I'm going to have a good conversation with you. So I'm going to get these calls out the way, and you and I will talk. We have time, so hold on, Mabel, because I don't want to rush our conversation. And so, Melissa, I agree with you. So I would say that we need to continue to educate our people through programs like the OIC on how to get their family properties. You heard me last week. I had a lawyer on, not last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, about wills and estates, right? And how to get wills and estates in their name, how parents can put things in their children's names before they even die so that they wouldn't have to pay the probate taxes. All those things. Like, we're trying to give you educationally what we need to do to make sure that people get what they need. And so this is why I say when we come on The Source that we don't just spout off and give a bunch of rhetoric and opinion. We literally start researching and asking and seeking people who can help you to get where you need to get to. Sean Wright Dupree says, good afternoon, WURD, but can these people get a $30,000 loan from the bank to rehab their homes? No, that's why they're in the situation now. Can't get loans. Absolutely right. So then I would bring someone on from the United National Bank, Demetra Davenport, who is the vice president over there. I'm going to get her now to come on WURD to talk to you all about how we can get access to loans and how we can build our credits, right? Because building credit is a simple thing as paying your telephone bill on time every month and little by little building it back up to the place where it needs to be. So wait. All right. So Sharon, listen, so Sharon says you're absolutely correct. That caller calls on Solomon Jones' show and he checks him. What does he mean? We don't have the capacity. He's off his rocker. All black and brown folks aren't ignorant. See, so for me, I wouldn't even get upset about something like that, Miss Edwards. It's literally, look, this is where we are. I always give people the space to say what they are, because when people show you what they mean and what they want to say, you would just believe them. The man gave it to you from his lens. I'm not telling anybody off. I'm letting him speak so that you all can hear and understand exactly where he's coming from and where folks like him are coming from when they're coming into the community to buy the houses. He didn't, all right. Let's see. Eric Dawson says, also, the part regarding locals not giving into the money and letting go of the property, at least two things to also think about. One, if they don't sell, the buyers can't work through the local government to take away the land for a just cause for the greater good. And two, there are laws, mostly popular in the South, that calls for minority rights. Minority in regards to percentage of ownership, not ethnicity, where it's more than one family member owned the property. The outsider just has to find the weakest link and buy their part of the property. I did see that happening in Virginia when I went to stay someplace down there. And if the majority of the owners do not agree to sell, the outsider can go to the courts and exercise their minority rights to force the sell. Wow, it's a lot. It's a lot. And so let me take a couple of calls so that Mabel and I can get into this. Hakeem from South Philadelphia, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
How are you, sir?
Good, and yourself?
I'm good. What's going on?
Yeah. And, you know, from what you said, that it's good to listen to everyone's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So you can build up your ammunition, and you can, you can fight it.
Yes. Right.
You know, so it's always. So I agree with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm having a problem.
Yes, sir.
A lot of these older folks
Mm-hmm.
that, or and the blacks that's voting for Trump,
Mm-hmm.
don't they know this guy is racist?
Mm-hmm.
Don't they? You know, if they can't see it, and I'm only 44 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and I can see this clear. I could see this like if Ray Charles see this
Mm-hmm.
or Stevie Wonder,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's just so like it's appalling to me that they would sit and just want to support this guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's up with these people?
So Hakeem, can I tell you what's up with them? Because I wrote 2 articles for the Philadelphia Sunday Sun this week. That was about one of them, and two things. They said that they made more money under this administration than they did with the Democrats for all the years that they have been doing what they needed to do. And so while white folks were capitalizing on what was happening with this administration, a lot of black folks were able to get business deals too. And so they were like, look, I have had conversations openly on this radio station, on this show, with black men who called in and said, listen, I am making more money now than I've ever made, and I'm not down for a dollar and a dream with the Democrats anymore. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So that's the first thing. The second thing was the large population of black men and women who were let out of prison, right? Who felt like they needed to give into, to say thank you for that. So there's going to always be a population. There is a recent poll that says in 2016, 8% of black men voted for Donald Trump, and that in 2020, they're expecting 24%. Only time will tell if those numbers pan out. But I'm telling you, at the heart of it, sir, is being able to eke out a living and making money. It's money. Money.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, but Owen had told me once, and I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna go ahead and hang up.
Yes, sir.
All money ain't good money.
Yeah, but you are absolutely right.
Not good money.
Yeah.
Because they could have been applied for these here loans or however they made their money.
Yes.
They could have been did it, but they chose to use that as I mean, the guy is racist.
Yeah.
The guy is racist.
Yeah.
That should mean more than money to you.
Yeah, but racism. They'll tell you racism doesn't feed them. But see, people don't see these kinds of things, Hakeem, until it impacts them personally. That's the problem that I'm having with so many of us, right? It's the same thing with COVID. Well, I tested negative and nobody in my family is sick, and yet 220,000 people died. It's herd immunity until somebody in their family dies, and then everybody is screaming. And that level of selfish mentality is something we're going to have to work on. But I always tell you, experience is still the greatest teacher.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Oh, I appreciate you, sir. You have a good one, okay?
Oh, you do the same. Thank you so much.
All right. Jacob from Albany. I got to get through these quickly because I got to get to Miss Wellborn. How are you, Jacob?
All right. Hi. Peace be unto you, my
Peace be unto you, my sister. How you doing? My brother.
Okay. Well, hey, look, they know. That's the time. But, but look, quickly, we 400 years strong as a people.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to tell you the truth. We some of the most sensitive people when it comes to people telling the truth.
Man,
if
Jacob.
somebody's telling me the truth, do I care whether they're white or black?
Jacob.
Or Bill Cosby said some things that we should have took to heart. Oh, he was the worst person in the world. Why? For telling us the truth? For asking our young brothers to pull up your pants because that looked nasty, especially in the summertime when you're sweating. And who wants to see the sweaty crack of your butt?
Yeah.
With your, that's nasty.
Yeah.
Pull up your pants, bro. Yeah. Respect your ancestors. But when you say that, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Just what Mike said, right? That's true. It's true when, like Joe Biden said, anybody that's got to decide on whether to vote for me and Trump, you ain't black. I'll say that. How in the heck are you going to vote for a white supremacist who hates your people, who think of us, you have nothing to lose, your schools ain't nothing, your families ain't nothing, you ain't nothing, right? And I'm thinking about voting for him because I got a few dollars.
Yeah.
Give somebody a break with that ignorance. And again, if somebody's telling you the truth, just learn to accept it and stop being so sensitive. Yeah. And, you say everything is racist, but you can't see the racist right in front of you, the grand wizard that's in the White House. Come on, give somebody a break. But thank you.
I love you, Jacob. Thank you so much, man. Call in later. All right, Tyrone, I can't even sing my song today because, listen, we got no time. How you doing, Tyrone?
Yes. How are you today?
I'm good, sir. How you doing?
How was your weekend?
My weekend was fabulous. The Proud Boys rode by my house on their motorcycles. What you think?
Well, look here. That's why I don't understand what all these folks talk about. Anybody supporting somebody that's tearing this country apart. I mean, my God, I don't care about you making $1 or $2 more. What about the misery that is being caused because of the racial divide? And every time that he spoke on, about the inner cities, it was negative. Everything he said about us was negative. Yeah. But, Mother, I was going to sit today out, but I have to respond to the George that said, because one of the things that we must do, Mother, is we just have to become a community again.
Yes.
When we talk about gentrification, when they put the I-95 underpass was supposed to come through downtown, and they took all of our houses on Lumber Street, South Street, and gave those, our families, because I had many family members that lost their house because of that, $2,000. And then when they
wait a minute, they gave them $2,000 for their homes to build I-95?
$2,000.
Wow.
And when they decided not to do it, those shells went for $50,000 to $60,000, and anybody can check it up. And the other thing, Mother, I forgot to mention when we were talking about the Sullivan, progress classes.
Yes, I got Mabel Wellborn waiting to get on the line. All of y'all.
Hey, but let her know that I received the community and management consultant certificate when they was holding classes, when the OIC was holding classes at progress classes. I was one of the graduates, so I just wanted to share that. But anyway, I love you.
Love you too, honey.
But we got to become a community because why every time when they rebuild, the people that's there have to be pushed out, and then always new people, and they excuse my language, but they are all of one color. And you don't see black folks, Chinese folks, and everybody moving in. You see black folks being pushed out and white folks being, moved in.
All right.
I have a problem with that.
Thank you so much, Tyrone. Always a pleasure. Put Miss Wellborn on the line for me. Miss Wellborn, how are you?
I am grateful. I am grateful.
So listen, it's so interesting that everybody, I still have 3 callers waiting. I'm going to let them wait for a little bit. I'm going to take a quick break, and then you and I are going to talk about exactly what we've been discussing in all these calls, right? About coming together as a community.
Yes. I am patiently waiting.
Yes, ma'am. You hold on 1 second, okay? We'll be right with you. You're welcome. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Jefferson Health offers no-cost COVID-19 testing at St. Raymond of Pinafort Church. Testing is on Thursdays and Saturdays. For testing hours and more information, call 1-833-533-3463.
Listen to Laborers Live. We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour work day, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
WURD Radio presents the following information to help you navigate the upcoming election.
This is Charles Ellison, host of Reality Check on WURD. More than 2/3 of all poll workers are 61 years of age or older. That's created a serious poll worker shortage as older poll workers are understandably nervous about health risks during pandemic. If you or someone you know under the age of 40 is looking for part-time work and is interested in contributing to their community, sign up to be a poll worker today. In Pennsylvania, go to votespa.com, click on Be a Poll Worker, and complete an application. Keep following us at onWURD on Twitter, facebook.com/forward, and hashtag Word on Politics for constant updates on election 2020. And remember, vote early.
Stay informed and vote. For more from Charles Ellison, tune in Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. or visit WURDradio.com.
Hey, Mama, you calling me for a change? You and Daddy all right?
We're fine. Can't your mama call and check on her babies and get a little advice?
You know you can. What do you need help with?
Well, despite COVID-19, you know I'm not letting anything stop your father and I from voting this year. But we're here in Pennsylvania. Should we go to our precinct as usual? What's the best way?
You mean I get to be Mama for a minute? All you have to do is go to aarp.org/election 2020.
That's my favorite site, and they have a lot of information about the pandemic.
You only text me the website 3 times, but they have all the reliable, up-to-date voting information for voters 50 plus in every state. Want me to text it to you?
Girl, I know. It's aarp.org/election 2020.
Well, me being your mama didn't last long.
That's 'cause I'll always be your mama.
Yes, ma'am.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. I know I have a couple of other callers. I'm just going to ask you all to be patient with Mother and let me have this conversation with Mabel Ellis Wellborn, Board Chair of the Leon H. Sullivan Charitable Trust. Good afternoon, Madame. How are you?
Good afternoon to you, Madame.
I have so looked forward to talking to you since before COVID broke out. And then all sorts of crazy things started happening. How are you?
No, I am grateful. I'm extremely grateful. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to share this time with you.
Yes, ma'am.
And you've covered so much. And I have to remember, you're interviewing me. I'm not supposed to be interviewing you.
Well, you're a retired human resources executive, so I can imagine what that looks like. So let's start here. Oh, my gosh.
Can I tell you
yes.
that although I'm retired, I spend more time, and I think I'm working harder and have a little bit more responsibility as board chair, as a volunteer, than I did when they paid me 6 figures to work.
I absolutely believe it. So what do you want us to know about the Sullivan Trust, the Leon H. Sullivan Trust, Madame?
I want you to know that the Leon H. Sullivan Charitable Trust that was renamed to honor Dr. Sullivan, it was originally the Zion Nonprofit Charitable Trust, the nonprofit entity that came out of the 1036 plan. The trust was chartered December 20th, 1966.
Wow.
And so it was the creation of Dr. Sullivan as a nonprofit to receive grants to do those things that he wanted to do and to develop seed money to accomplish those things as well. And so the trust right now is the owner, operator, and manager of the Leon H. Sullivan Human Services Center. That 67,000 square foot office building that occupies the block next door to Progress Plaza. And so that building was dedicated September 1978 to be a one-stop shopping center for human services. The original tenants were Social Security Administration, the Labor Department, the Department of Labor, and the Philadelphia Police Academy.
Yes.
And over the years, we have provided space for a number of human service organizations, schools, et cetera, et cetera. Today, the center is fully occupied.
Wow.
And we have 12 tenants there that are all providers of human services for the community.
Wow.
The tenants include Unite Here, Campaign for Working Families, Spectrum Health, and some other tenants. We have a chiropractor there. We have home health services. We have OIC of America. It's their headquarters there.
OIC of America, yes.
Just to name a few. And so one of the things that the trust does, and it just feeds right into the things that you've been talking about today, especially with home ownership, community and economic development, and empowerment, we conduct sessions that help older homeowners understand how to transfer their properties and their assets to their children. And so we collaborate with financial services in the community, some of which you are very familiar with. And we will continue to do those sessions going into the fall and probably do them virtually because the community has asked for that.
Right, right.
So that is just a thumbnail of what the trust does. You talked about doing another session for Dr. Sullivan's legacy, and perhaps in December, when the trust is celebrating its anniversary, maybe we can do a longer session then.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So,
but I want to share a personal story with you about home ownership. You saw in my resume, my bio, that I'm the first in a family of 15 children. Born and raised on a farm in Virginia that came from my grandfather. When my father died, he left my mother with 13 living children and no life insurance. 11 of us formed a corporation, bought the farm from my mother, let her hold the mortgage.
Yes.
She had a source of income. So when it became time for my mother to be institutionalized for health reasons, after she had lived with me for a few years, she had nothing to be impacted, so she could go into the institution on her Social Security.
Right.
Fast forward, 9 of us sold our shares to 2 of our siblings. So that farm, that 100-acre farm that came from my grandfather, still belongs to his great-great-great-grandchildren.
Wow.
So that's home ownership because God ain't making no more ground.
That's right. Amen.
You want to interview me?
Man, listen, you were wonderful. I didn't even have to ask you too much, but wow. So you are clearly listening to what we're talking about here on the air and why homes are being snapped up in the cities and why things are happening. But there are resources with the Sullivan Trust and that large building where you're having all these human services and you're offering services to help people. I had someone on a couple of weeks ago, Ms. Wellborn, who spoke up exactly what you said, form a corporation, get the children's name on the thing so that the parents don't have to worry about it. But there are ways to go about it. What I think I am finding happening especially in the inner city is that people are so overwhelmed by just daily living.
Yes.
Of having to make the daily decisions, that the thought of having to form a corporation, to them it's like yabba, 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 because there's so many other things going on. So we have to find the most simplistic ways to help people so that they can get what they need, so that they don't continue to lose their properties.
You're absolutely right. Now, there's a couple of attorneys on our board, and one of them conducts these sessions, complimentary sessions, for the community to tell people how to prepare their wills, their trust, and whatever it is, how to prepare the documents to transfer their property to their children. And these are free sessions. And so I want to make sure that the listening audience understands that they can reach the trust office at 215.
Wait a minute, let me write this down. The trust office. I have a notebook that I carry, Ms. Wellborn. I write everything in it. Can reach.
I have a little journal myself. 215 684
215-684
3400.
3400.
Right.
So here's what I'm going to request of you, because I really enjoy talking to you. And I have some questions for you about human resources and what that looks like for when we hire. The elections are next week, Madame, and so lots is going to be happening. In December, the first week in December, I'd like to have you back on to continue discussing this, but I also want you to talk about what employers are looking for in employees when they're trying to hire. What does your resume need to look like? A cover letter, all of that, right? What is necessary, what isn't? And so when you email Brianna, tell her that I need you to be in 2 segments, please, not just 1.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I am so looking forward to talking to you again, because I find you to be a wealth of information. Thank you so much for giving us.
And at some point, we can talk about my tenure with the Sullivan Organization.
Oh, all of that. We are going to talk about all of that, Ms. Wellborn.
Thank you so much.
And here's the other thing, Ms. Wellborn. Every single month, on the second Monday of every single month, I'm going to be talking about the Leon H. Sullivan Trust and all the work that he's done. So you can come on anytime you want to. Don't feel like you have to rush through one interview with me. You can come on again and again. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Have a great afternoon.
You have a better one.
All right. Bye-bye, Madame.
Bye-bye.
You are listening to The Source. I know I still have listeners on. Hang on in there with Mother. Please. I'm going to get to you. Let me just finish this piece, okay? The Source Education Hour was brought to you by the Internet Essentials from Comcast. High-speed home internet for low-income families for just $9.95 per month. Visit InternetEssentials.com to learn more. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Hello, my name is Hassan Bennett. I did 13 years in prison for a crime I didn't commit. Over-policing in our community has led to over 100 casualties like mine. It's time we, the people, take control of our future. And we do this on November 3rd by voting to make communities safer and the system fairer.
Paid for by Black Vote PA, which is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.theelectionisnow.com.
Just one more step. You got it.
You're doing great. This is the sound of a nationally ranked top rehabilitation hospital, home to the largest collection of robotics in the United States, where we continually exceed patient expectations. because no injury is too severe or too minor for our care.
There you go.
This is the sound of success. Moss Rehab. Challenge accepted.
4 years ago, Donald Trump asked Black America a simple question. Asked us, what do you have to lose?
What do you have to lose?
Since then, we've seen a rise in racial violence and white supremacy, an increase in poverty.
You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs.
While giving tax cuts to the rich. 200,000 dead from COVID, 1 in 5 are Black. We've lost our jobs, our businesses, our dignity, and even our lives. And he, Trump, dares to ask, what the hell do you have to lose?
What the hell do you have to lose?
Well, Mr. President, damn near everything. After 4 years of Trump, ask yourself, Black America, are you better off? Vote for change.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
At PICO, we know one thing is certain. Times have changed. From kitchen classrooms to couch conference calls, searching for a new job, or new ways to keep your family connected. These changes have become a part of our reality. That's why our teams are working 24/7 to meet the needs of our communities. So no matter how much things change, you can depend on PICO to be there with the energy and help you need to power through. Learn more at pico.com.
He's back.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keeping it real with the Reverend Al Sharpton.
In times like these, we have to stay connected.
At a brand new time.
Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight.
I'm excited that Keeping It Real returns to WURD.
Keeping it real.
With the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight.
This program is pre-recorded.
No phone calls, please.
Keep it locked to WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM.
WURDradio.com.
This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Independent Black Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lockville Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Before we get Dr. Cohen on, let me take these last few calls so that he and I can have an uninterrupted conversation. Derek from North Philly, are you there?
Yes, good afternoon, Mama.
Good afternoon, sir. How you doing?
Love, peace, blessings, and prosperity.
Yes, sir. Same to you. What's going on?
Thank you. I wanted to comment on the caller that was talking about the selling of our houses.
Yes, sir.
And I can sum it up like this.
Mm-hmm.
If a person was named to be a fool, told you something wise, would you be a fool for listening or not listening?
Mm-hmm.
You get it?
I get it. Trust me, mother gets it.
And you know, that's how sometimes we have to look at things. Because, you know, take Harriet Tubman, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Harriet Tubman had to entrust herself to others who didn't look like her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we can't just have feelings that, because when that man was talking to you, to me, it seemed like he spoke to you concerning us with compassion.
Yes.
And I noticed how he addressed you. He addressed you respectfully.
Yes, he did.
And so I don't have no qualms because he could have been using that time to say something totally negative.
Yes.
And as far as we as a people, I think that we have to realize that people who want to vote for Donald Trump, we got to know that we have generations of people like that.
Mm-hmm.
There were generations of people like that inside on the plantation in the master's house.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us just aren't going to get it, but what we have to do is we have to stand up for them as well until they do get it.
Yes.
They're not heavy.
Mm-hmm.
They're my brothers.
Come on. Thank you, Derek. Thank you so much for calling in, man. All right, bye-bye. Woody. How are you, sir?
Listen, I know I'm not going to stay on long because I'm not supposed to be on. It's Monday. Remember, I'm just checking the barbershop, walking through. But I heard that young white gentleman speaking about the issue of how people are ignorant. Well, I always go back to these schools in these inner cities all over this country. The major problem has to do with a good 1 to 5th grade education. He's ignorant as it relates to his culture, his way of seeing things. The ignorance of the people that sold their houses are ignorant because they didn't get the proper education, so it becomes like a culture. 400 years of not giving a person the ability to read or even allowing them to read a book. This is America. Donald Trump made it clear, even though he didn't do anything about it. African Americans, what the hell you got to lose? Your schools are all messed up. You can't get money from your banks, and you're being gentrified out of your neighborhoods. Well, most of the realtors already know. The city knows because they make the tax go so high that the people that have had these houses for years and years, neighborhoods, large blocks just removed because of gentrification, wipes you completely out. You can't stay if you didn't learn. How can you be expected to earn? There needs to be some adjustment as relates to the real estate tax issue. And until we get that office I'm telling you about to show just how many people are ignorant to the point of not because of themselves, but because of the unprivileged, way of giving proper education, I call it systemic educational discrimination, was a natural thing caused by this country as it relates to the spinoff of the 400 years of chattel slavery. We have damages, and the damages have spinned off that affect also whites, blacks, Asians, Indians, but nobody's affected like the children of the former chattel slaves living in America today. That Office of Non-Immigrants needs to be there not just for black people, but for all cultures to understand that we're ignorant about one another because of what the children of the former chattel slaves who built this country had to go through.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to let you go on that. Hopefully you received my information.
I did. I got it, and I read it, Woody. It's to the Philadelphia Tribune, that article that you wrote. I read it from beginning to end, and it's everything that you talk about every time you call here. So I did read it. Thank you for sharing that with them.
Was that the letter to Donald Trump, or was that the one to
That's
Joe
the
Biden?
Philadelphia to Biden.
Okay, well, also Donald Trump. You read that one, too. I sent you 3, I think.
I only got 1.
Okay.
All right, my brother.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy. All right, bye-bye. So we are now getting ready to talk to Bernard M. Cohen, who is a long-term services and support chief's medical officer for Mary Health Caritas, Delaware. He provides clinical leadership of long-term services and supports and is responsible for advancing initiatives to drive clinical excellence and delivery of cost-efficient care. Dr. Cohen would like to give an interview of the caregivers crisis. I can't wait to hear this. This silent healthcare crisis is contributing to a high level for women who are the traditional providers of family care. If the nation fails to address the caregiver crisis, it will have dire consequences for aging baby boomers and their adult children who are caring for them. Dr. Bernard M. Cohen, welcome to The Source, sir.
Well, good afternoon, Andrea. Thank you for allowing me to talk about this issue on your program.
Yes, you're quite welcome. So, health care and education are 2 other important tenets on this radio show for me. So you can always call, because we want to make sure that people are getting the best information possible so that they can make the best choices for themselves and for their families. So what's happening, sir, with the caregiver crisis?
Well, I think we have an identified problem that is one that basically populational driven. If you think about it, there are many people who were born after World War II who are at this point in time aging. They're in their early 60s all the way up into their 70s and beyond at this point. Obviously the term is usually used as baby boomers. Some of us have identified with that, and I will tell you that the baby boomers were the largest generation to arise since the time of World War II has ended. It's a very large population, one in which we really don't have enough caregivers to service all of these people, especially if they have chronic problems and other issues that require supportive services.
Right.
I can tell you that, a lot of it's going to fall on families.
Yes.
with regard to taking care of their relatives and their supports. I will tell you that the generations underneath the baby boomers are not as numerous. So just by pure math perspective, there's going to be a problem. And we're not ready for this.
So what do you think is going to? Excuse me, sir. We're heading towards a crisis, is what you're saying, because you're absolutely right. When many of us, my generation, which is beneath the baby boomers, we opted to have 1 or 2 children or no children at all. And so I am now dealing with friends who were saying they are the single child of a baby boomer parent, and sometimes both parents are in the house and they're having to struggle through trying to figure out how to maintain and manage and take care of those parents who are now in the age where they're having all kinds of chronic illnesses. What advice and solutions does AmeriHealth have, or do you have, for those of us who are getting ready to face that crisis, sir?
Well, I think there are a number of supports that are available, and I'll talk about a few of those. Obviously, AmeriHealth in Delaware is really focused as a Medicaid plan, and so the state actually helps provide those services from the standpoint of long-term services and supports. But not everyone is Medicaid eligible.
Right.
For those that are, who are on our health plan, I can tell you that a number of things we can do is provide personal care services. We can bring in caregivers as needed. We can provide the types of supports, perhaps the medical equipment and even housing improvements to some extent, because this is all part of the state program. But for those who don't have that service, it becomes a little bit more tricky.
Right.
You're really left to your own financial resources and other community supports that are available to you. So I think there are going to have to be a number of stakeholders involved in the solution of this problem. It could be state governments, it could be federal government, it could be community resources all coming together to say, what is it that we can actually do to help give additional support to people as they get older and have more disabilities and more chronic conditions.
Right.
So I didn't come with the answer from that standpoint. I can tell you some of the things we do, but it's not the long-term solution for everyone.
So, wow. So what can people do now to get ready for the impending need of the baby boomers? Anything at all?
Oh, sure. I think the first thing to do is just kind of, if you have an aging parent or parents who are going to be in need, I think one of the things that they'll need to do is focus on a plan.
Yes.
How will you deal with that? Think it through from the standpoint of the different financial requirements that you might have, or the various community resources that you'll need to put in place. So that's one way of dealing with this. Another is to see what type of community supports you can work with. There are many, many, many of those that are available. Let me give you some examples. So if you have an aging parent who's having problems with memory, they're having issues as far as just remembering things, are they developing any kind of dementia? Is that something you need to think about?
Right.
Lots of community support groups are available with regard to that particular issue. If the problem is that there are disabilities and the person is trying to deal with, how am I going to simply get around in the house, or how am I going to get through the community? There are things that can be done as far as starting to develop those particular plans. I can tell you that at AmeriHealth Caritas, we have several different things that we can provide through the state benefits that we have. One of the things we do is we can employ what I call community health navigators. These are people that actually go into the community and assist people. We have case managers and care coordinators who can actually visit, work on a care plan for someone develop what are the needs that this particular person has,
right.
and what are some of the solutions that we can put together for that particular improvement. I'll tell you that there are other things. There are a lot of what I'm going to call social determinants that can really impact the ability of both the person who needs the care and the caregiver themselves. Social determinants are things such as what types of transportation do I have? What type of housing are we currently dealing with? What improvements to that housing do we need to do? What about our food insecurity? What about our own natural resources, our finances? These are things that have to be looked at. A lot of people work in jobs that today, during the COVID crisis, are considered essential.
Right.
And so they are basically having to work all the time and, having to take that scenario and develop it so that they can take care of someone as well.
Yes.
Can be extremely difficult. So those are all things that need to be planned out. We have a lot of disparity amongst many of our populations during these COVID times, such as African Americans and Latinos. We have a lot of disproportionate positive cases based on the number of people who are actually one of those two cultures and the number of people who have had COVID. So that's an issue that has to be addressed, as well as thinking about caregiving.
Right.
So those are a few things that we probably need to really kind of think about as we develop this plan. So it's almost like we, as AmeriHealth Caritas, might come in and help develop a care plan for someone, but the family also needs to develop a plan. If they don't have our particular type of benefits, they'll need to look at their own situation and develop how are we going to handle the future and who's going to help take care of. I had an instance I don't mind talking about years ago when my mother slowly went downhill and was no longer able to live by herself. I started by putting her in an assisted living facility, but it wasn't the right fit for her.
Right.
So I had to move her to where I lived and basically put her in an assisted living facility there, and then basically went over every day after work to make sure everything was
okay.
going right. And I did that for 7 years.
Right.
And a lot of focus and a lot of things went into that particular effort to make certain that she was cared for. And she was able to stay there for 7 years.
Right.
Before she passed away.
Right.
But not everybody. Yes, please go ahead.
Question, because you're saying that. What do you do when you have parents who insist that they will not go into a facility? Because Caribbean parents have let me tell you, they're like, we raised you, we brought you here, we are not going into a facility, y'all better figure it out and take care of us. We have a lot of those issues.
I will tell you that exactly what my mother said to me. And I had to bring my brother into it. So the two of us together basically had to convince her. We had to show it to her, and we had to prepare her.
Yes.
This was all in her best advantage, but that may not succeed.
Right.
So it's going to be an individualized version.
Yeah, it's not easy. I have 3 siblings, and we have been planning for years. We made sure that we went and looked at the house, made sure that everything needed to be there, that all the services were being taken care of, that they had all their doctor's appointments. We knew who their doctors were. We knew but you're absolutely right. It really requires a well thought out plan, and children who of these people, these older folks who are willing to work together to make sure that their parents, who brought them into this world, can do what they need to do. If people are old enough to apply for Medicaid, which one? Medicare is for over 65, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How do they get to AmeriHealth? What do they need to do to get to AmeriHealth for the services that you're offering?
So there are a couple of ways. First, AmeriHealth Caritas in Delaware is a Medicaid plan. It is basically one that is means determined, so there are financial requirements.
Yes.
And basically the planning involves is working with the state to see if you qualify.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you may be over age 65,
Mm-hmm.
and you could still be on Medicaid.
Right.
And that depends upon whether or not there are any long-term complications, disabilities, other things that the state takes into account.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have Medicaid members who also have Medicare benefits.
Oh.
So that does exist. In fact, I'll tell you, in Delaware, over 80% of our Medicaid members also have the long-term services and supports benefits, and basically have Medicare as their primary insurance.
Okay, so if they want to sign up for Medicaid and go through AmeriHealth, how do they do that, sir?
Well, I think the best solution is to read about AmeriHealth on the website, which is AmeriHealthCaritasDE.com. Read about us, and then they can certainly go through to the state and acquire some more about what their options are.
Yeah.
And then they would put in an application and talk with the enrollment people about how to do that. So I would not be, or anyone within the plan would not be participating in that process.
Right, got you. All right, thank you so much. Bernard M. Cohen, Long-Term Services and Supports Chief Medical Officer for AmeriHealth, Caritas, Delaware. Thank you so much, sir, for calling in. You've given us a plethora of information and really some food for thought for those of us with aging parents, and the fact that so many of us are having aging parents now, and that we have to create a plan and do what we need to do to make sure that they have the supports that they need. You have a good afternoon, okay?
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're quite welcome, sir. All right, bye-bye. Mike and I are looking at each other. There's so much information floating right now that it feels like we're doing it's one thing after another. But Dr. Cohen makes perfect sense, right? The baby boomers are one of the largest groups that came out after World War II, and they didn't have enough children to cover what was going to happen. Lots of them didn't even have children. Right? Because they saw when they were born, their parents were having 10, like Mabel Wellborn, Miss Wellborn. She was one of 15, right? People were having 10 and 11 and 12. I said, oh, the love of Jesus, 12 children? Ooh. Right. And so we see that in these families. And so now, our children, my children are like, yeah, you might get one. I might give you one grandchild, because the way this country is going, I don't know if I want to do this. So Dr. Cohen is absolutely right. We do have the occasional family that's still having 6 and 7, 8, 9, and 10 children, but we don't see that much anymore. And so we have to really pay attention. And I have so many friends who are only children, the only children for their mother or the only child for their father. And when the parents get sick, there's no plan in place. So my husband and I have sat down and we've made plans for his parents, for my parents. Shoot, we need to make a plan for ourselves, because we're not spring chickens. The chickens have been sprung from us. So we've got to figure out what we're going to do with ourselves too. It's a lot, and we can't walk around and think that everything is going to be okay. As we get older, things start to ache. And, our vision gets a little blurry, and the memory comes and goes, and you're like, ooh, so this is what they're talking about, huh? We should have really enjoyed birth through 40, because everything after that is a slippery slope. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
4 years ago, Donald Trump asked Black America a simple question. Asked us, what do you have to lose?
What do you have to lose?
Since then, we've seen a rise in racial violence and white supremacy, an increase in poverty.
You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs.
While giving tax cuts to the rich. 200,000 dead from COVID, 1 in 5 are Black. We've lost our jobs, our businesses, our dignity, and even our lives. And he, Trump, dares to ask, what the hell do you have to lose?
What the hell do you have to lose?
Well, Mr. President, damn near everything. After 4 years of Trump, ask yourself, Black America, are you better off? Vote for change.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Biden for president.
JD's Auto Body and Painting is hiring talent for the following positions. Assembler, preferably 2 to 3 years experience, able to tear down and reassemble all make and model cars. Painter, must have at least 5 years overall painting experience, including experience in water-based paint and able to prep cars for paint jobs. Auto Body Technician, looking for an A or B technician, must have at least 5 years experience repairing cars. Please send your resume to JD's Auto Body and Painting at Comcast.net. That's JDS Auto Body and Painting at Comcast.net or call 215-848-5949 for more details. JD's Auto Body and Painting is an equal opportunity employer.
The pandemic is not only putting everyone's health at risk, it's also impacted our jobs and retirement security. And it's disproportionately affecting African Americans, especially those 50 plus. That's why AARP Pennsylvania is fighting for your voice to be heard. If you haven't voted yet, now is the time to learn about your voting options and cast your ballot. We're working to make sure you can vote safely, whether you choose to vote from home or in person. And if you choose to vote by mail, make sure you return your ballot using both envelopes. Your ballot goes in the smaller envelope for secrecy, and that goes into the larger envelope for mailing. Also, don't forget to sign the voter declaration on the back. Your voice matters. Make sure it's heard. Go to aarp.org/PA votes to learn about your voting options and how to vote safely this election. Visit aarp.org/PA votes today. Paid for by AARP.
Always Best Care is a great place to work. Flexibility,
leadership, purpose,
great benefits.
There's never a dull moment.
Diversity, inclusion, compasión.
We love our jobs. If you're looking for a great place to work, you can join our compassionate Team Green. You can apply online at teamgreenabc.com or call 267-909-9248.
Teamwork makes the dream work. You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDRadio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. I need to read something to you. Seems brother Jared Kushner, and I say that lightly, America's Diverse Vote, NBC News. Thank you, Kimberly, for sending it to me back door. It was written by Michelle Garcia. Buckle down, people. White House advisor Jared Kushner described Black America's issues with inequality and racism in the country as complaining during an interview Monday on Fox and Friends. The thing we have seen in the Black community, which is mostly Democrat, he said, is that President Trump's policies are the policies that can help people break out of the problems that they're complaining about. But he can't want them to be successful more than they want to be successful. Kushner's words appear to blame Black Americans' disproportionate lack of wealth, job opportunities, health disparities, and other inequalities on a lack of drive, suggesting the problem is that Black Americans don't want success enough. However, his comments did not address the roots of systemic racism. This dismissive approach to the issues that Black voters care about is indicative of Trump's callousness and disregard for the lives of Black people. Democratic National Committee, let me just make sure that I have that. National Press Secretary Brandon Gassaway said in a statement, "We cannot afford another 4 years of a White House that does not take our voices seriously and tells us to be grateful for whatever scraps are left over from the bargaining table. We need leaders who not only value our input, but prioritize and act upon it. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are those leaders, and Black voters will continue to show up at the polls in record numbers to ensure that Donald Trump, Jared Kushner, and this failed administration gets the message." Shortly after the clip aired, White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany released a statement. "It's disgusting to see internet trolls taking senior advisor Jared Kushner out of context as they try to distract from President Trump's undeniable record of accomplishment for the Black community. From criminal justice reform and record HBCU funding to record low Black unemployment." I don't understand, okay. and record high income increases, there is simply no disputing that President Trump accomplished what Democrats merely talked about. Those who have worked with President Trump have seen success on those joint objectives, unlike previous failed Democrat politicians. Now, some of you are going to get all in your feelings, and I'm going to let you go there, but yeah. There are black people who are calling and saying that they have been able to get some of what is being discussed here, but I got to share something with you that made me howl like a wolf to the blue corn moon. The Lincoln Project put up a billboard of Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump in New York City. Did you see that? Oh, Mike, it was delicious. And I mean delicious. So on the billboard, it says, New Yorkers are going to suffer, and that's their problem, something that Jared Kushner said. And then under the picture with Ivanka Trump, it says 33,366 plus New Yorkers, 221,247 plus dead, Americans dead. When the billboard went up, excuse me for coughing in the microphone, guys, Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner wrote a letter saying that they were going to sue the Lincoln Project. I need you all to hear this. The response was so good that I didn't know what to do with myself. So, October 23rd, 2020, late this afternoon, the Lincoln Project, Lord, I can't see, received a cease and desist letter from Ivanka Trump's private attorney over a billboard placement in Times Square. The Lincoln Project released the following statement in response. The level of indignant outrage Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump have shown towards the Lincoln Project for exposing their indifference for the more than 223,000 people who have lost their lives due to their reckless mismanagement of COVID-19 is comical. While we truly enjoy living rent-free in their heads, their empty threats will not be taken any more seriously than we take Ivanka and Jared. It is unsurprising that an administration that has never had any regard or understanding of our Constitution would try to trample on our First Amendment rights, but we truly intend on making this civics lesson as painful as possible. Jared and Ivanka have always been entitled, out-of-touch bullies who have never given the slightest indication that they have any regard for the American people. We plan on showing them the same level of respect. Ooh. The billboards will stay up. We consider it important that in Times Square, the crossroads of the world, people are continuously reminded of the cruelty, audacity, and staggering lack of empathy the Trumps and the Kushners have displayed towards the American people. That was just part of them. So then a friend put up the other part of the letter, and I could not believe the letter from the lawyers. They were not playing with them. The lawyer said, that was page 3. Let me find page 1 and read this, because the way they responded to them was so interesting via email. Dear Mr. Kasowitz, I guess that is the lawyer for the Kushners and the Trumps. I write to respond to your recent letter in which you threatened to sue my client, the Lincoln Project, for openly criticizing Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump. You object specifically to 2 Times Square billboards featured below for your immediate reference that associate your clients with the Trump administration failed COVID-19 response. You boldly predict that the result of your lawsuit will doubtless be enormous compensatory and punitive damages. Please peddle your scare tactics elsewhere. The Lincoln Project will not be intimidated by such empty bluster. Your clients are no longer mere Upper East Middle-sized socialites, able to sue at the slightest offense to their personal sensitivities. Mr. Kushner and Ms. Trump are public officials. They have been public officials since President Trump, in a gross act of nepotism, awarded Mr. Kushner and Ms. Trump senior White House positions in 2017. The placement of Mr. Kushner, I mean, they went in. I've never seen lawyers go, and another thing, and another thing. Americans have the right to discuss and criticize their public officials freely. The United States Supreme Court has described this as a profound national commitment to the principle that debate on public issues should be uninhibited, robust, and wide open, and that it may well include vehement, caustic, and sometimes unpleasantly sharp attacks on government and public officials. Public officials have periodically tried, as Mr. Kushner and Ms. Trump do here, to evade accountability and muzzle dissent by threatening or filing defamation lawsuits against critics. Fortunately, substantial constitutional protections are afforded to those who speak out about public officials. The Lincoln Project plans to avail itself of these constitutional protections to duly criticize Mr. Kushner and Ms. Trump until they cease to be public officials at approximately noon Eastern Standard Time on January 20th, 2021. These lawyers were not playing. I said, I need a set of bulldog lawyers like this. And then they went in and they cited when they said, that we didn't just randomly say this. They cited a case study where the Lincoln Project explicitly cited Vanity Fair as the source for Mr. Kushner's featured statement. So they went and gave interviews. I keep telling people, think about what you do before you do it. Please contact us again if at some point you somehow succeed in convincing Vanity Fair to retract its article. But I trust that this supplemental explanation settles the matter for now as to Mr. Kushner's reported remark. Like they went in and found all the information. So remember, what we put up is public knowledge, even when we think that it is absolutely private. The Lincoln Project, I'm telling you, they're Republicans who separated from the Republican Party because they're saying that this is not the Republican Party that they know, and they happen to know how to, the Democratic Party would do well watching how the Lincoln Project responds to bullying and nepotism and everything else. They're doing so well. I'm petitioning the black contingency to see if we can get them over on this side because woo, it is insane to see how they're handling what's going on out here. So let me go ahead and do the my report from the New York Times because I like to give you the briefings from them. Spain orders a curfew. The Senate prepares to confirm Amy Coney Barrett, and we look at the good and bad of Trump's economy. President Trump is not running a re-election campaign based mostly on policy. He has released no agenda for a second term, and the Republican Party did not publish a new platform at its convention. But when Trump tells voters why he deserves to win re-election, he tends to focus on the economy. He created a prosperous economy, he says, and will do so again, better than Joe Biden would. The fact of the matter is that President Trump inherited a prosperous economy. Once the coronavirus passes, I want to devote today's newsletter to explaining Trump's economy through 4 key points. 1, the economy was strong before the virus hit. Trump inherited a growing economy, and it kept growing on his watch. It accelerated a bit in his first 2 years in office before slowing down again in 2019. By the New York Times source, the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. 2, perhaps the best news. Wages were rising, even for lower-income workers. After more than a decade of economic growth, the labor market had become tight enough that employers were increasing pay more quickly than inflation was rising. The trend began under President Barack Obama and continued under Trump. By the New York Times source, U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Number 3, Trump deserves some credit. Josh Barrow of New York Magazine has argued that Trump's overall economic record is problematic, partly because his tax cuts were so skewed to the rich, but also that Trump got some big decisions right. Most important, he appointed Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, who focused on growth rather than wrongly thinking inflation was a threat and kept interest rates low. But 4, Trump also deserves some blame, including for the virus and the recession it caused. Trump's economic policy geared almost completely toward lifting growth in the short term while ignoring the long-term dangers. He increased the deficit, mostly to give wealthy households big tax cuts. He scrapped environment regulations, which increases the likelihood of costly climate destruction, and he hollowed out parts of the government, including its ability to respond to a pandemic. 1 year ago yesterday, Biden tweeted, "We are not prepared for a pandemic. Trump has rolled back progress President Obama and I made to strengthen global health security. The bottom line, much of the economy's performance is beyond the control of the president. Trump had the good luck to take office with a far stronger economy than either of his predecessors. Obama and George W. Bush enjoyed. Just look at the start of each president's line in this chart on job growth by the New York Times. Source, Federal Reserve Bank, St. Louis." Later, of course, Trump had the bad luck to have a global pandemic arrive during his re-election campaign. He has tried to claim full credit for his good luck and deflect all blame for the bad news. But that's not the fairest way to evaluate Trump's economy. Ultimately, he deserves solid remarks for its performance during his first 3 years and much worse marks for his long-term economic legacy. On the latest news, Joe Biden campaigned in Dallas, Pennsylvania on Saturday. Biden will campaign in Georgia tomorrow, and Kamala Harris will visit Texas on Friday. Polls show a close race in both those states, which no Democratic presidential candidate has won in decades. Trump plans to hold rallies in Pennsylvania today and in Wisconsin and Michigan tomorrow. Remember me telling you earlier in the show about the Electoral College and that Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania are some of the states where he needs to win in order to win this election. He won all three narrowly in 2016. But is now trailing in each. The New Hampshire union leader endorsed Biden, the first time the newspaper has backed a Democrat for president in more than 100 years. Fights broke out during a Jews for Trump rally in Manhattan. 7 people were arrested and protesters screamed at Rudy Giuliani. Among the revelations in a time analysis of fundraising data, in wealthier zip codes, Biden has raised nearly triple what Trump has. In less wealthy areas, they are almost tied. Research has showed that local coronavirus deaths led to a decline in voter support for Trump, and in Wisconsin, a battleground state, is now in the midst of one of the nation's worst outbreaks, the Times' Nate Cohn notes. Mark Meadows, outside the White House on Sunday, Stephanie Reynolds for the New York Times. "We are not going to control the pandemic," Mark Meadows, the White House chief of staff, told CNN when asked about the lack of mask wearing at Trump rallies. Vice President Mike Pence, Mark Meadows now has the virus, by the way. Vice President Mike Pence said he would not quarantine after his chief of staff and 4 other top aides tested positive for the virus. The president of Fox News and several of the network's stars were exposed to the virus on a private flight. With one of the world's highest infection rates, Spain declared a state of emergency and ordered a nationwide 11 p.m. curfew. The Senate voted yesterday to limit debate on Amy Coney Barrett's nomination and is expected to confirm her to the Supreme Court tonight. Lord, every Democratic senator is set to vote against, as is Susan Collins of Maine, a Republican who is up for re-election. Pope Francis named Wilton Gredley, the Archbishop of Washington, a cardinal, making him the first black American to achieve that rank in how many hundreds of years? Chileans overwhelmingly voted to scrap the country's constitution, a dictatorship-era document, and create a new one. The Los Angeles Dodgers beat the Tampa Bay Rays in Game 5 of the World Series, moving to within one win of a championship. One key play, a rare and unsuccessful attempt steal of home. We have more people. All right, so I'm going to take a quick break and then I'll take Marion Prince and anyone else who call in. A morning read as protests raged in Minneapolis. A police officer and high school football coach called some of the players on his team. "Before I hit the streets, I have to tell you guys something," he says. "Just know that I care." Lots going on. We're still having protests all over the country. So much is happening that you can't even keep track. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Reverend Tyler, with November 3rd around the corner, do you know how you'll be voting this year?
Dr. Callahan, I requested my mail-in ballot, and I'm returning it the day it comes in the mail.
That's perfect, because we can't leave anything to chance this year.
Already received your mail-in ballot? You're just a few simple steps away from turning your mailbox into a ballot box. Here's how. After selecting your candidates, place your marked ballot into the small secrecy envelope and seal it. It's a 2-envelope process, so then you'll place the small secrecy envelope into the larger one. Make sure to seal that one too. Sign and date it, and then it's as simple as dropping it in your mailbox, no postage necessary, or returning it to your county election office. And if you still want to sign up to vote by mail or find out where to drop off your mail-in ballot, visit votespa.com.
I'm not waiting until November 3rd. I'm returning my mail-in ballot the day it comes in the mail.
Or you can return your ballot to your county election office.
I've got my plan. Make your plan to vote today.
Paid for by Power Interfaith.
What's up, everyone? I know you know the word, no, not the station, but this word, J-O-B that is, and our friends at Amoroso's Baking Company are hiring right now. Amoroso's has been baking the delicious bread in our community for over 100 years, and they want you to join their team today. The old and the young love Amoroso's, and they are hiring right now. Check it out. They offer fair pay and provide health, dental, and prescription plans after 90 days employment. Call 856-754-0355 or visit amorososbaking.com for details.
Philadelphia, old, young, and all in between. We've got to get out and rock the vote in this election. We have the power to make a difference, but we cannot make that difference without your vote. Vote by mail or vote in person. Our vote is the voice that will save our lives. This message is sponsored by the Leon H. Sullivan Charitable Trust.
Hi, I'm Tobias Harris. We've been hashtagging and protesting, but this November, we can show the system what time it is. We've been victims of police brutality, stop and frisk, and other forms of harassment. On November 3rd, we take our power back. This year, everything changes. We can vote to end stop and frisk and put police accountability in the hands of the people. It's on us. On November 3rd, vote to make our community safer and our systems fairer.
Paid for by Black Vote PA, which is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.theelectionisnow.com.
Need a new mattress? Stop by to see Julian, the mattress man, located at 7421 Stenton Avenue. You deal directly with the owner, Julian, to ensure the best prices on name brand mattresses like Sealy, Posturepedic. Call 215-424-5550. That's 215-424-5550.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDRadio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. I am heartened by this. One of my friends just sent me a text message saying, listen, she began writing down the 2020 electoral votes and have them written here, sent them to me. And I'm going to have to save this. She says, West Virginia has 5 votes, Wisconsin 10, Wyoming 3, New York has 29. The swing states, Arizona has 11 electoral votes, Florida has 29, Michigan has 16, North Carolina has 15, Pennsylvania has 20, Wisconsin has 10, Colorado has 9, Georgia has 16, Iowa has 6, Maine has 4, Ohio has 18, and Texas has 38. You want to pay attention to all of this, and it would behoove all of you to get a piece of paper and write down what each state, how many electoral votes each state has, so as you're watching the end of the voting at the end of the night for the presidential election and you hear them talking about the electoral college votes, how many what states have been won and how many electoral college votes are going to each person, then it would make more sense to you. So let me move along. Mary, Miss Mary from Mount Airy, line 1. How are you, Miss Mary?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I just wanted to let the people know that based on, people being placed like in nursing homes or long-term care facilities, the state usually assigned a guardian.
Yes.
And also the nursing home facility. We go after all your assets that you have under your name. We've had like a lot of millionaires and billionaires apply for state grants. They are aware that we go after their assets, and a lot of times they change it over to family members' names, and we look at in the span of 10 years. And this is how we lost our properties around these hospitals like Temple, Jefferson, Einstein. It wasn't a thing where family members were not allowed to remain on those properties because once you're in those facilities, a lien is signed and placed against that property. And for any type of medical care, it's sometimes it's up to $1 million or more to care for a person. So, you know, they do have long-term nursing care insurance available. But if you could keep the family member at the home and maybe a family member can take care of them or a nursing caregiver come in to take care of them. And they have like hospice care if they're in need of that. Instead of they're losing everything that they worked for based on, you know, becoming elderly, you know, and it's a sad situation, but, you know, everybody is in for a profit. You know, I remember when this, what's his name? I'm trying to think of his name now. The one that has the production studio, Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry,
Yeah, he would search the websites, and I remember this, and he wanted to pay a hospital bill for a family that was in Einstein, and they refused to take the payment. And they placed the family members out of the home and took the property. You know, so everybody is in it for a profit. And, you know, if you're not prepared for that type of situation, if you at the point where you have to go into the facility, maybe, like you said, some people don't have family members, then it's nothing else you can do. But if you do have to go that route, make sure you check on your family members every day. And that's my advice.
And Miss Mary, that while parents are cognitive and aware to start signing over some of their, you know, but the thing is, do they trust their children or do they trust their family members, right? Because they can start signing over some of their properties long before they get sick. You understand what I'm saying? So they wouldn't lose their properties. But it's a conversation too many families are not having. Right? For whatever the reason. So I'm hoping that people are hearing you and that they listen to you. And what I'm going to do is get a real estate lawyer back in here for someone who talks about wills and properties so that people can fully understand what's going on, because we're losing our properties and our homes because we're thinking, I'm not giving over my stuff to such and such and such, not realizing when you don't do it right on the front end, on the back end, you end up losing it and then so much more. You know?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Miss Mary, for calling in, okay?
Okay, thanks a lot.
Oh, you're welcome. Bye-bye. Prince.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, sir. What you doing?
Good. Look, I'm not going to ever subscribe to a person who has a job not go to work. So the Democrats not going in, whether the confirmation is in their favor or not, you know, there's a lot of people that's out of work. You get elected to go to work. So you just go to work. I mean, how embarrassing is it for someone who we pay and to arbitrarily say, I'm going to boycott, I ain't going to work today. But it's bad enough you don't have any interaction with your constituents. You Zoom us about everything. So now we zoomed in on everything opposed to having the kind of interaction so we can look in your eyes and make sure you're not telling us a story, you know, that we need to fabricating the story. And another thing, the guy, Devontae Douglas, the one in the DA's office, the minute he met the other guy, Vernon Harris, he should have locked him up. He has an obligation as a district attorney, as an officer of the district attorney, when you meet a felon or a guy or ex-felon with a gun, to lock him up. So the mere fact that when the story came out, you know, Krasner didn't lock him up at that time, didn't suspend him, didn't detain him, do a 24-hour search to get all the information and stuff like that. It's just ridiculous. And we got to stop playing politics this way because, you know, no one shoots somebody in early morning like that in the middle of the day and is not detained. Immediately, you are detained. You know, you carry a gun, we take the gun off. You carry a badge, we take the badge. You know, we let the other special cops come in. and you are detained, and the mere fact that the audacity to say that we're not going to charge you, and then you find out more about this information, which leaves you no choice but to charge him,
right.
is how we're playing the wrong politics today, and people see this. And so now you make it almost like you got to know somebody to get out of something, or you got to know somebody to get out of something, and it shouldn't be that way. It should be. It can't be hormonal, and it can't be clean if we keep doing stuff like this. And it was just disturbing, the fact that he chose to let all the information come out. You know, the irony is that the young man who they accused of stabbing David O, y'all locked him up immediately.
Right.
He lost his job. He lost his apartment, you know, only to find out that he was exonerated at trial.
Right, right.
You know, so you keep moving out on us, you know, the little people, and yet the people in office who have positions, who have their constituent people, you know, you give them the benefit of the doubt. And I think that's absolutely wrong.
So, Prince, you were about to make me go look up this case. I need to figure out what Prince is talking about with Devontae Douglas.
It was the one in North Philly where the guy who had gotten shot, who works in the DA's office. He's the person that goes to all of the hospitals.
Yes.
When there's a homicide case.
Yes.
And, yeah, he travels. And so he had met a man online to interact in a way that he should not have been interacting. But at the time that he realized that this convict had a gun, he was obligated to detain him.
Right. I didn't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Supposed to enter into a sex act with him. So the questions lead me to believe, you know, do we need to go down to the DA's office and check all of the computers and all of the people and stuff like that?
Right.
Like, who's down there?
Right.
You know, and I'm calling your show because you're familiar with the DA.
Yes, I am.
You know, he calls in, and so we need to just ask him, hey.
Yes,
hey,
I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look it up. Yeah.
What's going on? And thank you, and I'll hang up and I'll listen.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Prince. Wow, I didn't know all of this was happening. Madeline, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
So listen, I have to literally get off the air in 1 minute. 1 minute, ma'am, because my show ends in 1 minute. So let's go.
There's 4 questions on the ballot.
Yes, ma'am.
First 3 questions, please give them a yes, and the last question, give them a no. And thank you for reading that piece. That was awesome. I'd like to have that read every day, 5 times a day, so we understand who the real Trump people are. God bless you.
Oh, God bless you too, Miss Matt. What a great way to end the show. I love the WURD listeners, man. I do. You all remind me. Some mornings I get up and I'm like, all right, I got to get in there and I've got to do my 3 hours. What am I offering to the folks when I get there? What great information do I give to them? I don't just want to come in here and pontificate every time. And you do realize it takes some energy to put a 3-hour show on. I don't just show up and talk, right? There's so much time. Like I spent hours last night doing the research on the Electoral College because I promised you guys last Thursday that I was coming in here today and I was prepared, right? So thank you to everyone who has helped me. Thank you to those of you who are continuing to listen. Thank you to those of you who are paying attention. Thank you to the 90% of you in Philadelphia that are registered to vote. I cannot get off the air without saying you better go with it. And I see you out there getting ready to vote. I see you out there getting your ballots in. You know, they can't point the finger at Philadelphia if this thing doesn't turn out the way if this thing doesn't turn out the way you expected it to. And to the Democratic and the Republican parties that are supposed to be working on our behalf and our collective, I'm going to need you all to get better because the shift is here. The shift is absolutely here. And nobody should expect anybody's votes and to take anybody's votes for granted. Coming up next is Nick Taliaferro, Evening Word. And so I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.
Sharper than a razor, eyes made laser.
Sharper than a switchblade, first and last of one kind, made in